Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's council meeting for the 15th of July for the City of Onkaparinga. And on behalf of all of the councillors here tonight and the staff, I'd like to welcome everyone who's in the gallery. It's lovely to see so many people interested in our democratic processes. We do have a few pieces of information I will administer as we go along, but the first piece, as you just heard with the bell ringing and the information that this is a recorded meeting, and the meeting becomes available on our website about 48 hours afterwards. So anyone who is making a deputation, the audio and the vision of that will be recorded, and you may be captured in that as well if you're in the gallery. So I'm just making you aware of that in case you don't want to be found by somebody perhaps, but please make sure that you're aware that that is what's happening. We do have an apology this evening from Councillor Pritchard. There are no leave of absences, and I will ask all our councillors and staff if they would like to join me with our pledge. We recognise this city's considerable natural and cultural heritage, including thousands of years of traditional ownership by Ghana and the more recent contribution from people either born here or who have migrated here. As we meet together, we build on this heritage by respecting and listening to each other, thinking clearly, being receptive to new ideas, speaking honestly and deciding wisely for the current and future well-being of those we serve. Thanks, everyone. And just a few procedural matters. If there are behaviours that are inappropriate in the gallery, I will ask you to leave. So no heckling or taking photographs or any of those kind of things. If you don't leave on my request, you will be escorted out. So I'll please. I have total confidence none of those things will be happening, but I am required under the Act to make sure that I let you know that. There are a few other things regarding our Local Government Act that applies to us as a council. There will be procedural matters. What I'll try and do is let you all know where we're up to in the agenda if you're following it online, or perhaps if you have an electronic copy of it. So you'll be able to see as well on the screen where we're up to in the agenda. Given the numbers of people who are interested in tonight's meeting, we will be encouraging you, if you are not interested or want to participate in a particular item, to leave the chamber and then come back later, so that we do have an opportunity for those people who are here for specific items to fully participate and listen into what's going on. So the speakers in a council meeting are anyone who is a deputation who is already registered to be here and has been approved by me to speak tonight, and our councillors, of course, and also staff may be invited from time to time to provide further information or to answer our questions. So just in the fullness of making sure all of our sound equipment works, I'm going to ask each of the councillors just to say their name and their ward, and I'll start over here. Thank you. Thank you. Louisa Bell, hello.
Bishop and Power.
Marion Familiotis, the LASZLO ward.
PLATTEN, first ward.
HACKHAM, Greta Wilkes, Mid Coast ward. Hi everyone, I'm Kim from Power ward. Lauren Jew, South Coast ward.
Stafford, Knox ward. Okay, LASZLO ward. One South Coast ward.
Thank you, Heidi Groves from Knoxville. Thanks, everyone. And we will now get started on the agenda. And the first item of business is confirmation of our last minutes. Councillor Fisher.
Thanks,
and Councillor Familiotis. Happy to second. Any questions, debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much. There's no adjourned business and there's no leave of absence. Item 5 is the Mayor's report. Councillor Eaton.
Yes, I'll move as written. No
Thank you.
discussion.
Councillor Thimilotis.
Yes, happy to second and quickly just recognise and thank the Mayor for getting the BMX letter from Marion Council put into the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. And there was a little amendment from Councillor Wilkes, a little update as well. So that's been included, as well as the City of Marion correspondence that Councillor Thimilotis mentioned. So all those in favour? Against? That motion is carried. There are no presentations tonight. Now we move into deputations. And just to explain a little bit about what deputations are. So deputations are an opportunity for members of the public to address the whole chamber, and you have 8 minutes as a deputation. So if there's 3 of you or 2 of you, you need to share that time. How you do that is up to you. At the 6-minute mark, you'll hear a little chime. Don't be put off. That is just to let you know you've got 2 more minutes to go. And all of you have indicated tonight that you're willing to take questions from the councillors. And so there'll be an opportunity for them to ask you questions. So our first deputation for item 7.1 is Lisa Thorley and Tim DELVAUX, who are speaking on the revocation of community land at 102 Canberra Drive. So if you'd like to come forward, that would be terrific. And as you're coming up, so this is for Canberra Drive. I understand there's Tim and Lisa speaking. Is that right?
Geraldine and Sandy.
Okay, and so between you know you've got your 8 minutes. Just want to make sure that you don't all.
That's some follow up.
Can I just have some clarification? Who's speaking on Canberra Drive?
4 of us.
Yep.
Tim and I will be speaking, and Jerry and Sandy will be helping us for moral support and
Excellent.
questions.
No problem at all. All right, got it. So your time starts now, and we've got your slides in front of you, in front of us. So I'll leave you to get it on with them.
Good evening, Mayor, elected members and council staff. Thank you for the opportunity to present this evening. My name is Tim. This is Lisa, Jerry and Sandy. Tonight we are presenting on behalf of the local community who respectfully oppose revocation of community development. Which is the reserve my brain space. Through the petition, we by residents who are new, some who have been living in ABERFOYLE Park for over 50 years, telling us how they've seen the green space change and slowly disappear around their homes, and their own stories to protect these green spaces in the past. Overall, the most common feedback we heard was this is what we lived here for. Space. Just signing the petition, they thanked us and they asked how they could help. This level of engagement shows how important this reserve is to the identity of the community. The community support didn't just end there. We hosted meetings, some impromptu, some organised. Each time the community has continually shown up and given support and time, including those who are here in the chamber tonight. This petition is more than just a list of names. It's a sign of the trust in the elected members to please listen and to act in the community's interest.
Tonight we'll be providing footage, photos, and a soundscape of the bird life heard every morning. There are 28 trees in the reserve. Some of these trees were planted by the council in the middle of the reserve roughly 13 years ago. They were a smart choice by the council as they bloom in parts of the year when the others have finished, providing a year-round food source. Local resident Tina personally watered these trees weekly for a year until they were self-sufficient. Multiple residents, including Tim and I, have spotted the vulnerable yellow-tailed black cockatoo in the reserve, which is currently on the Onka watch list. Many of the other trees are considered either significant or regulated. One example of this is the yellow box tree. It has a wide canopy cover and is home to a large family of rosellas. Local resident Anna from Deborah Road, who lives beside this tree, says she sits, meditates, and admires the rosellas that are in the tree most mornings and evenings. Another significant tree is the river red gum. We hear the native grey-headed flying fox in this tree every night. The audio you're currently listening to is our reporting of the grey-headed flying fox in the reserve. They are listed as a vulnerable species, meaning it faces a high risk of extinction if the threats it faces are not addressed. Its population is decreasing due to clearing of land for residential and commercial development.
Another significant tree is the red ironbark. Many residents have mentioned the abundance of possums spotted along Canberra Drive. We captured this footage of a brush-tailed possum in the red ironbark. Specific possums are protected under the National Parks and Wildlife Act. They are territorial, meaning that they stay in the one area their whole life. It's important to note that they have a very low survival rate when separated from their homes, and territorial disputes can result in fatalities. There's also a spotted gum, and although it's not classed as significant, it's the only tree in the reserve which has multiple tree hollows that are utilised by both lorikeets and minor birds for safety. Hollows take decades to form in a tree. This tree is also frequently visited by koalas. Our neighbour Tina has always put water out for them, especially in droughts and heat waves. I'm sorry, what's this one? A large number of residents have stressed that this reserve is part of a nature strip, the koala corridor, and a stormwater runoff, which connects to the Field River catchment. As you would already be aware, the ALLOT Council has received funding of $1.83 million towards the restoration and protection of Sylvia Creek and Homestead Creek. If you follow the green line from the top where Lot 102 sits, you can see where the nature strip meets Sylvia Creek. Revoking this land and disrupting the nature strip will work against the efforts and funding already put into the ALLOT Urban Creek Resilience and Recovery Project. If wildlife can't travel between large reserves, it can lead to isolated populations, reduced genetic diversity, and an increased vulnerability to threats like disease and habitat loss. Not only that, but the potential development of houses will force koalas to walk along the road, placing them at the risk of drivers, particularly around the blind corner where Lot 102 resides.
Other trees on the reserve include wattles and bottle brushes, which all contribute towards improved canopy cover and reduced urban heating. If you walk around nearby, you will notice the trees, but no shrubs. Lot 102 is home to several large native shrubs. There are nests found in the shrubs and baby birds emerge in spring. Tina advises that she's seen a blue-tongued lizard in these bushes. They seek refuge under these bushes for protection from predators and harsh weather, and they forage for insects among the foliage. They don't typically climb trees. The reserve is not only used by wildlife, but used by the community in a number of different ways. We've had so many residents tell us how they enjoy playing with their dogs, how their kids play or ride their bikes through, couples stroll through and admire the trees and bird life. A resident from Flagstaff Hill living with diabetes uses the distance of this reserve to reach his daily step goal to improve his health. We've heard stories of kids creating cubby houses in the low-hanging tree branches. As we live next to the reserve, we've seen all this, including people bird watching, meditating, and kids playing in the trees.
Most importantly, residents simply enjoy walking along the reserve through the nature strip of Canberra Drive for their mental and physical. The Onkaparinga Sport and Active Recreation Action Plan evidenced the majority of Onkaparinga residents say walking is their preferred method of exercise. This reserve facilitates this plan, as similar to the wildlife, residents use this strip to walk between reserves. The local residents clean the rubbish that drifts into the reserve, showing that the community cares to look after it. Aside from many residents simply asking to leave the reserve protected, several residents would like to see more species that are native to the area planted in the reserve.
We have a list of volunteers who would be happy to help further improve the reserve and assist with weeding, planting, mowing, and watering new saplings until they're established. As you can see, this in itself demonstrates the love and commitment our community has to the preservation of this parcel. Lastly, a group of students studying a Bachelor of Science in Biodiversity and Conservation from Flinders University offered to conduct a biodiversity advice report. The report concluded the land should not only remain protected, but that the reserve contains the right conditions to grow endangered vegetation. As the community is eager to volunteer their time in rejuvenating this reserve, it's evident that the report aligns with the goals of the community.
All the factors that we mentioned before you contribute towards the significance of leaving this reserve protected. This isn't just a parcel of land that turns green in winter and brown in summer. This is home. It's shelter and food for our bird life, our koalas, are possums, are laughing kookaburras. It's a play space and it's a walking trail. It's a place of peace and respite. From the community surrounding Lot 102 Canberra Drive, we plead that you hear our concerns and please reconsider the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. And I understand you're up for questions. So our first question is from Councillor Benelodis.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got a couple of questions. First to Tim and Lisa. How long have you lived in your current property?
About 2 years.
2 years? Perfect. And when was the first time that council reached out to you with regards to that rural fence line?
It was around the same time that we were starting to move in. It was still under construction.
Okay, 2 years ago. And where did that conversation land? What was the end result from that conversation?
Yeah, so when we moved in, there was a front-end loader. It obviously wasn't us, we don't own a front-end loader.
Yeah.
The council member went up and said, yeah, that shouldn't be there.
To be removed.
Asked it to be removed, so we spoke to them and yeah, they got rid of it the next day.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. But since then, there's been no contact with council with regards to the fence line bar the June 25th meeting that took place this year.
That's correct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And another question, Tim and Lisa. I want to talk about the petition. Can you or any of the other residents standing here speak about the petition, and when you were door knocking people, how were you sure that those people who signed the petition were knew exactly where the parcel of land was?
Yeah, sure.
We haven't answered that on the time.
Yeah, okay.
Hi, my name's Sandy. I went around and collected a whole lot of signatures for the petition, and I identified that area by saying, do you know where AP Park is? And they said, yep. I said, you know where the shops are? Yep. I said, well, the next parcel of land, and everyone said, oh, where the bins are always tipped over. So they knew the difference between AP Park and the land behind the shops.
Perfect. Thank you, Sandy. And Tim and Lisa, I know you did some of that too. Is there any feedback you can give to confirm that residents were clear on the parcel of land being revocated?
Yeah, absolutely. So on top of that, we also handed out flowers. Which had a QR code, which led them to the Onkaparinga Have Your Say website.
Okay.
And that, of course, had all the details, inclusive of the location of the reserve. And on top of that, of course, we held these community meetings. There were 40 to 50 people there, all of which everyone knew how to get there. So no, there was absolutely no ambiguity around the location.
Amazing. Thank you. And my last question I'm going to put to Joe. I'm going to go give you a question. My question is, why does the community feel so strong about this parcel of land and council's consideration to potentially revocate it?
Thank you. Excuse me using notes when one gets aged, one tends to talk food salad unless they've got some prompts. So I would just like to refer to my notes if I could. Like many of you and your constituents, by necessity, I would know life according to wants and needs. And the principle governed by my circumstances, not necessarily of my own doing. In my view, a want is a luxury or something that gives short-term joy or makes us look good to other people and look successful. A need is vital to survival and basic comfort and continuous health and well-being. Of course, these meaning overlap each other on occasions. Councillors, as elected representatives of their ratepayers, should sometimes maybe apply this same principle when making decisions on our behalf. In case we call in tonight regarding 102 Canberra Drive, that should be the only question that you need to ask yourselves. It is your community want or need, or is it the council's want or need, and which is morally more important? With the constant urban uphill, when houses are built cheap to jail, there's an enormous amount of damage being done in all aspects of our lives and environments. And as Tim and Lisa have highlighted here tonight, building projects such as this ilk are not the solution to our housing crisis that we're experiencing at the moment. We need to build upward, and of course, as other cities do, and of course with green space around those places, because generally those affected by the building crisis are generally lower income bracket and cannot afford to live in established areas with high purchase prices and high council rates, such as Aberfoyle Park. Of course, all of those new communities will need, as I said, open space around them. So, in the decision tonight, is it going to be based on the council's want to revocate the piece of land that we're talking about, or is it for their own financial gain from the sale or future ongoing rates income, or is it going to be decided in favour of your community's need to preserve this open space for all the reasons put before you by our presenters tonight? Please, all of you, vote tonight with your conscience as our elected community representatives, or like our proxy executives, ensuring that our wishes for the future will be honoured after we're gone. Once the open spaces are gone, they're gone forever. Leaving future generations of humans bereft of the pleasure and benefits of the humans, flora and fauna, of the benefits and pleasures of that piece of land. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Finiolatis.
Last question, very sorry. Lisa, I've got a final question for you. What if I said to you, sell the land but save the trees? What would you say to me?
I don't think that's a very good idea, for many reasons, ones that we've already stated. So like the council planted those trees in the middle of the reserve 13 years ago, and they only flower when the other ones are not, so it's taking away a food source. People walk through the reserve, so they're saving only the trees would take away the rest of the reserve and take away that walking strip for the community. The bushes, I imagine, wouldn't be saved, which are very substantially large and not found in nearby reserves. People play with their dogs there. We see them playing on the huge space that is there. So again, that would take away from that, from the community. We saw the koala walking through there, so that would take it away from them. It's a koala trail, and it's part of the nature strip. So taking away that space is taking away from the nature strip. And people didn't sign our petition, and they didn't do the have your say to say just keep the trees. They voted and signed to keep the whole reserve. Also, I really would love to set up a volunteer opportunity there, and I feel like that would be taking that away from the community as well. And I think Sandy's got an opinion on that as well, but yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Platten.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your deputation tonight. That sort of leads into the last part of what you were saying. If council chose to retain the land, what would your vision be?
Oh, this is my favourite question. Okay. There is so much to the vision I had to write it down. Okay, so this is of course with council approval. We've spoken to a lot of residents, and majority have said that they would like more trees planted there, specifically ones that are native to the area. And as I said, we have a list of volunteers ready to go who are happy to help with planting, mowing, weeding and watering. And a lot of people would like to have seated benches in there because it's a really nice spot to sit down and look down over. We would like to have bird and possum boxes put in there because obviously there's possums and abundance of birds. Again, we don't expect the council to finance any of this. I didn't say that to begin with, so not again. Tripping over myself. We'd also like to have natural logs in there for the lizards and the insects. There's already trees in there that are known as bush tucker, so we could expand on that as well, and make it a bit of an educational spot by putting signage explaining the benefits of the plants that are in there and who they help and how. Also, our neighbour Tina would really love to put condom trees in there.
Yeah, talking on this one. Okay, so we've got a neighbour Tina, she lives across the road from the reserve, and she and her late husband used to have a quandong farm, and so quandong trees are very native and they produce beautiful fruit, and they made syrup and jam out of it. It was beautiful, and she gave them to a bunch of people at the community meetings too, which is absolutely wonderful. She would really like to plant more native quandong trees in the reserve, and a lot of people we spoke to are very, very for that and very excited at the idea of that. So that's just another.
I might just move on to another question, Councillor Graves, and then because you have opportunity to keep talking.
Thank you, and thank you for your deputation. I just, not to bring a downer to it, but a question about the boundary fence that currently doesn't exist against your property. If council were to retain this as community land, are you giving an undertaking that you will actually properly install a boundary fence on the boundary instead of in council's open space?
We haven't a boundary fence. We haven't thought about it.
Basically, whatever you tell us we need to do.
We'll do it.
Yeah, we'll do it. Yeah, we saw in the report, of course, you're making it very abundantly clear you don't want any part of the reserve to be used for any personal use. We hear you loud and clear, and there's absolutely no chance that's going to happen. And if to add extra assurance of that, putting up the fence, we're more than happy to do that as well. That's what you need.
Thank you. There's no further questions from elected members. Thank you for coming this evening. And if you'd like to take your seats back in the gallery, thank you.
Thank you.
Oops. The agenda. Yeah, can we just move that on? Item 7.2, we have Margaret and Timothy Bede are going to speak to us about the community land at Court Willunga. If you'd like to come forward, the staff will just assist you to do that. Thank you. And just as Margaret and Tim are coming up, just to remind you that you have 8 minutes and you can spend that how you wish. And I understand from your request for deputation that you're willing to answer questions from the councillors. So, and is there yes, there is a slide set as well. So we'll, if you need any assistance with that, let us know.
Is that? Yeah.
Yeah. Sing out if you need a hand. Over to you. All yours. Off you go.
Thanks. You want us to start?
Yes.
Okay. So I will be reading it. I'm sorry. I can't do it by memory. Anyway, good evening, Mayor, councillors and council staff. Thank you for the opportunity to speak as a representative of the Mindarie Street Reserve residents and those further afield who value and use our reserve located at Lot 110, Mindarie Street, Port Willunga. Our community has come together to effectively oppose council's proposal to revoke the classification of our reserve from community land for the purpose of its disposal on the open market. The Mindarie Street Reserve land has heritage back to the original 1840s and 1899 subdivisions. In 1959, 66 years ago, this land was vested in council as the current subdivision's designated public open space. In 1986, when buying my Mindarie Street home, the District Council of Willunga assured me it was a reserve and cannot be sold. Their assurance was an important factor in my decision to purchase my home, as it was for other residents, 6 of whom have properties with direct access onto the Mindarie Street Reserve, numbers 1, 5, 7 and 9 Caroloo Street, 26 Mindarie Street and 2 Kira Court. Council's proposal to revoke our reserves community land status caused shock and concern, especially regarding Council's justification that there are no current or future strategic, recreational or operational requirements to retain the land and no evident community use of this land. We strongly disagree. Our reserve is actively used and valued, forming an essential amenity for our residents. Our community is isolated and separated from the main bulk of Port Wollonga, making our Mindarie Street Reserve an important local and accessible green space, supporting spontaneous daily interaction with our residents of all ages and abilities, promoting neighbourhood bonds, mental well-being, emotional resilience and connectedness. Its visibility and presence of neighbours provides passive surveillance, making it a safe and welcoming space. It serves a very different function to larger destination parks, which require planning and transport to visit. We regularly hold street gatherings on our reserve, which we call Sunset on the Green. These provide a welcoming environment for sharing food, music and conversation, encouraging friendship building between our new and longer-term residents. Our reserve also provides a place for children's safe creative play, celebrations like birthdays and Christmases, quiet reflection, viewing sunsets, sometimes with a glass of wine in hand, stargazing through a neighbour's telescope, and daily dog walking and play. As one resident put it, I use this reserve daily as an extension of my backyard for relaxation, socialising with my neighbours and giving my child a safe space to play that feels like part of our home. Our reserves, trees and green space provide important habitat for local wildlife, including the endangered yellow-tailed black cockatoos feeding on the large Aleppo pine along with the pink galahs. It facilitates bird watching activities, enjoying, among other birds, the red-browed finches, the superb blue fairy wrens and mother magpie teaching her young to forage for food. If we lost our reserve, what alternatives do we have? On page 193 of the agenda of Council's 18th of March meeting, it states that after considering the Open Space Strategic Management Plan, Council concluded that the disposal of the Mindarie Street Reserve will not impact current open space or recreational opportunities for the community and is surplus within the plan. Further, on page 192, it states that the land is adjacent to a large district passive reserve and a short distance away from a local family reserve, suggesting that these are alternatives. Due to our concerns, we commissioned reports from two independent experts, one by cultural geographer Dr. Gavin Malone, PhD, titled Other Considerations, hand-delivered to Council the 12th of May 2025, and one by Town Planner Philip Brunning, mailed to Council by the 12th of May 2025, both also personally emailed to all 12 ward councillors and the Mayor. Firstly, the large district passive reserve refers to the Port Wollonga Linear Park, which Dr. Malone describes as having limited recreational or community use capacity, being an inadequately managed biodiversity reserve and floodplain, once a swampy valley. While Philip Running notes that the linear park falls well short of what the community deserves, which is a local park within easy walking distance for the enjoyment of residents. Rather, he describes it as being more akin to a drainage reserve associated with the Wollonga Creek. The linear park presents safety issues, including being swampy and flooded in winter and cracked dry in summer, impacted by a polluted creek, unsafe for children to play unsupervised. Snakes are common, frequented by off-leash dogs, creating danger for users, difficult for older, less mobile residents to access, and illegally used by teenagers riding motorised bikes. Dr. Malone also identified future impacts of climate change on the linear park as sea levels rise, noting its role is best seen as a biodiversity reserve assisting in the sequestering of carbon, a floodplain for high rainfall events, and a tidal estuary. He commended Council's Coastal Adaptation Plan 2023, where Cell 9 refers to Port Wollonga, anticipating a 30 centimetre sea level rise by 2050 and a 100 centimetre sea level rise by 2100. He urged Council to retain the Mindarie Street Reserve due to its elevation, resilience and future community value. The local family reserve is understood to be the park in Capri Crescent, Port Wollonga. This park is located a 1.1 kilometre all-weather 0.2 kilometre return walk, not a practical or accessible alternative for us, particularly for our older residents with mobility challenges, our young children requiring supervision, spontaneous outdoor activities, and our community gatherings such as our Sunset on the Green event. Clearly, neither of these provide a viable alternative for our residents' use. Council's proposal to dispose of our Mindarie Street Reserve runs counter to the kind of future Council itself promotes, sustainable, community-focused, connected and green, and contradicts modern urban planning principles that support walkable, healthy neighbourhoods. Council's current maintenance of our reserve is minimal, 3 or 4 10-minute mowing sessions annually aligned with mowing the linear park. We are discussing ways to enhance our reserve through revegetation and endemic species, with seating and signage on the reserve to reflect its community significance. In conclusion, our Mindarie Street Reserve is well used, deeply valued and irreplaceable, supporting all life stages from our toddlers learning to walk to our elderly residents enjoying a chat and a sunset. Once it is gone, it is gone. Its loss to us and to future generations would be a tragedy. Thank you. And to thank you all the ward councillors and the mayor who came to visit with us on our reserve over the last weeks. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Do we have questions for Councillor Yeomans?
Yes, hi, thanks for the presentation and thanks for the invitation to go down and speak to you all down there. It was a wonderful experience, I must say. And you did touch on it in your presentation, if this parcel of land is not revoked, how can you see, what could the community do to help maintain and enhance the reserve as it is at the moment?
We have talked about, within our community, what we'd like to see done. Back in the 1990s, I can't remember the exact date, a Port Wollonga Land Care Group got permission to revegetate our little reserve. So we as residents back then all planted a lot of natives. A lot of them have died off since then. And the vision we've had is to most of the community I've spoken to, they're really happy to come and do working bees on it. And the idea was we'd like to plant a native food garden on there, something, maybe the Ghana people's food that they ate, and maybe one idea was we'd have little plaques to say what the food is and how they used it. So it could be school kids could come and have a look at it. Plus, and put a seating, and a seating. One of our residents who's here tonight has already approached council at one point about putting a bench on the reserve, which is made by a local MCLAREN VALE artisan. And so we definitely do that, because at the moment there's no sort of formal seating. We all bring our own chairs when we have our functions, but I think it'd be lovely to have that there because people do come just to sit on it. So, yeah. Is there anything else you want to add?
No further questions. Thank you very much for your deputation.
No worries.
Just while you're making your way back, Julie Joyce is here for the item 7.3. If you'd like to make your way forward. So this item is regarding a proposition for a telecommunications tower at SEAFORD Rise. And Julie, I think you know the score now, 8 minutes, and then you'll hear the bell at the 2 minutes to go mark. And I think we've got any presentation? No presentation. All right, off you go. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, councillors. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of 296 signatories who have signed our petition opposing the proposed 30-metre telecommunications tower at SEAFORD Rise. This petition is on the agenda to be tabled at this meeting tonight. Both Lucas started this petition, but Lucas and I spoke to over 100 people each in our immediate neighbourhood, many who had received the council's letter advising them of the proposed lease of community land on the wetlands at the corner of Commercial and Dalkeith Roads. We also spoke to walkers who use the trail on the wetlands, the trail being 1 metre from the proposed lease site. 95% of the people we spoke to signed the petition. I want to pass on to you what their main concerns are and the reasons they gave us for supporting our petition. But firstly, I'd like to quote from the fact sheet attached to the Have Your Say site under Why This Site. It says, TPG has advised that as the proposed site is set back from residential properties, there are no expected amenity impacts. We do not agree, obviously. Seaford Rise was named Rise for a reason. It's a beautiful, well-planned suburb with parks, walking trails, underground wiring, and the NBN. Many blocks are on a slope, affording the residents lovely, uninterrupted views across the wetlands to the sea. It is these views that the residents value the most. Given the location of the proposed site at the lowest part of Seaford Rise, it is without doubt that a 30-metre tower will be in line with most of their homes. I will summarise the residents' main concerns. Firstly, loss of amenity and visual impact. The proposed tower will permanently alter the visual character of Seaford Rise. Residents move to this area for its coastal beauty, its tranquility, and the sense of open space. They were prepared to pay a higher premium for their blocks of land or houses to have the beautiful views across the wetlands to the sea. A 30-metre steel structure will dominate the skyline, tower above the wetlands treetops, and be visible from many backyards, living rooms, and outdoor areas. It will be an eyesore, totally out of sync with the community space it's planned to be in. Visual amenities matter. The council's own planning documents emphasise the importance of preserving local character and community identity. A tower of this scale does not align with that vision. Their second most important worry was property devaluation. This was the second most concerning issue for the residents we spoke to. I myself spoke to a real estate agent who was signing the petition. This agent confirmed that a tower would devalue the nearby homes, particularly homes that have been built to take in the coastal views. Numerous studies and real estate professionals have shown that proximity to telecommunication towers can negatively affect property values. The fear, whether justified or not, of health concerns and reduced visual appeal impacts buyer interest. For many of us, our homes are our biggest investment. The approval of this tower risks devaluing hundreds of properties without offering any benefit to those directly affected. Thirdly, community consultation and trust. The community feels a bit blindsided. There has been minimal proactive engagement. Many residents only became aware of the tower when they received a letter in their letterbox, when development signs quietly appeared, or when neighbours raised the alarm, as was the situation in our case. We were away, but thankfully our neighbour alerted us to this development. When door knocking, we found many people away. The council letter still sticking out of the letterbox unseen. Planning must be with the community, not to the community. Transparency, inclusion, and respect for local voices are essential pillars of good governance. We urge council to listen not only to the 296 names on this petition, but to the sentiment behind them: frustration, exclusion, concern. The fourth most thing that they mentioned to us was the health risks and safety concerns. While official guidelines claim electromagnetic emissions are within safety limits, the science is still evolving, and many of the residents expressed genuine concern. The World Health Organization itself has acknowledged that there is a need for further long-term research. For residents living near the proposed site and those walking on the trail, including families with young children, that uncertainty causes stress. At the very least, council should apply the precautionary principle, especially when other less intrusive locations may be available. Also, setting a dangerous precedence. allowing a structure the height of a 10-story building on community land worries the residents we spoke to. If this tower is approved, what message does that send? That more structures may be approved on community land, and how tall would they be? We are aware that the telecommunications tower at the southern end of SEAFORD started as a 25-metre tower. It is now 35 metres high, dominating the landscape, and many of us see it every day. Will this proposed tower of 30 metres need to be raised further? As it stands, it is to service Vodafone and Optus. What about when Telstra wants to join in? Will it go up another 10 metres to 40 metres? How many more towers do we have to look at every day? In conclusion, we ask that when it's time to vote, that you listen to the residents, as Lucas and I did, hear their concerns and protect their amenities and their wellbeing, and protect the very character of Seaford Rise. Thank you.
Thanks, Jane. I'll just see if there's any questions from councillors. Councillor Dew.
Thank you for your deputation. They've all been wonderful tonight. I just wondered if you're aware of the next steps in the process for us to make the decision.
That's probably not.
Sure. I won't answer it, but maybe staff can let me know.
Yeah, there are a few more steps to go. So tonight, this item and why I agreed for the deputation was because the petition was being lodged tonight, but there are some other steps. Yeah. Are there any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next deputation is from Deborah Bogle and LASZLO Baranyay from Friends of Port Wollonga. If I'd ask them to come forward, that would be terrific. And as they're making their way forward, just to remind you, this is in relation to an item that we will be voting on later on this evening. Same drill, I think you know by now, 8 minutes, and you'll hear the bell at 2 minutes to go, Mark. And I understand you're willing to take questions from councillors. Off you go.
Hello, my name's Deborah Bogle and Port Wollonga's been my home for the past 23 years. I'm on the committee of the Friends of Port Wollonga. We represent more than 165 households, and for 25 years we've been advocating for Port Wollonga on behalf of our community and its unique historic environment that makes it such a wonderful place to live and such a popular tourist destination. Our chair, Stephanie Johnston, estimates that we've put in about 500 volunteer hours a year over that 25 years. I'm now going to hand over to one of our members, LASZLO Baranyay, who's an architect and resident with experience in social and community housing, and he's going to speak to this issue.
Thanks, Deb. So yeah, my name's LASZLO Baranyay and I'm representing Friends of Port Wollonga along with many local residents following a letterbox drop to around 400 homes. Together, we strongly oppose the SKODA Street Reserve change of use for rental-only social housing. As an architect with over 20 years experience in Adelaide and abroad, including recent community housing projects in Prospect, Mitchell Park, Tonsley and Morphettville, I've seen firsthand how projects are conceived, delivered, and the impacts that they can have on communities. But first, let me make one thing very clear. This isn't about being opposed to social and affordable housing. We recognise its value when it's done well, in the right locations and with the right support systems. My own family is proof of that. My parents grew up in a community housing complex in Melbourne's southeast, where they met as childhood sweethearts. Social housing gave them stability when they needed it the most. And it's one of the reasons why I'm standing here in front of you today. When visiting my grandmother in that very same housing complex, I remember the life and activity around her. Everything she needed was close by. Public transport hubs, healthcare, education, employment, and shops. This aerial map shows that very housing complex, the red box you see in the middle of the page. This is what good planning and urban design for community housing looks like. with well over 30 infrastructure touchpoints. It's this web of options, access to schools, transport, services and shops, that gives tenants a fighting chance to get ahead. So now with that in mind, let us turn our attention to SKODA Street. So SKODA Street Reserve, it's 6,000 square metres, equivalent to around 10 residential blocks or a third of an AFL footy field. And it's one of the last community green spaces in this quiet, family-friendly, low-density part of Port Wollonga. But unlike my grandmother's neighbourhood, this site lacks the core infrastructure needed to support community housing. The nearest activity centre is more than 2 kilometres away, and even then there are very few options available. Public transport is minimal. A bus stop along Quinlivan Road. If you need to go to the hospital, that'll take you around 1 hour. University and the CBD, 2 hours at best, assuming the services line up. An estimated 70% of social housing tenants in Australia don't own a vehicle. So most would rely on this meagre transport network or be forced to walk to meet daily needs. Picture a single mum trying to get her toddler to childcare, then catch a bus, then a train into the city for uni or work. Door to door, it's at least a 2-hour trip each way, or 4 hours all up. And let's hope that all those services are not delayed or cancelled. That doesn't represent opportunity to me. That represents isolation and hardship. So the key difference between my grandmother's situation and this one here at SKODA Street is clear: the supportive infrastructure. It's not a luxury, it's the foundation of good social planning. The likely result is isolation from daily essentials, hardship in meeting even basic needs, and a deepening cycle of disadvantage, the very outcome these projects are meant to address. The data is sobering. Poorly located social housing without supporting infrastructure and services is associated with a sharp rise in burglary and assault rates, a huge increase in both tenants and nearby residents feeling unsafe at night, around 30% more neighbourhood disorder, and a 15% rise in police call-outs to the surrounding area. Now, you might argue that infrastructure is on its way. But in reality, too often these projects are delayed, scaled back, or quietly shelved as political and economic priorities change. And let's be honest, that ALDINGA rail extension, that's not happening anytime soon. This is gambling with people's lives. And good planning doesn't gamble. It puts infrastructure first every time. When people hear community housing, they often picture a modest few homes with gardens, neighbours chatting over fences, kids on bikes and quiet streets. But SKODA Street's large footprint makes it a prime target for high density development, at levels more than 1,000% above what's typically allowed in this sort of area. All 4 Adelaide community housing sites I've worked on followed the same formula. Start concrete apartment blocks with small punch windows, 5 to 9 stories tall, with multi-level townhouses squashed in, all while dominating the surrounding neighbourhood and sitting utterly out of scale with the local context. You might say, well, this won't happen here. However, we know that community housing providers face intense economic and political pressure to maximise unit numbers while cutting costs. So once land is taken, there's meaningful control over density and scale as the external pressures mount. This is Prospect. It shows the kind of community housing that has now become the norm, irrespective of location or context. Even the adjoining affordable homes have little quality or character. Now, let's not be naive. If this change of use is approved, this is exactly the type of outcome this site is vulnerable to. In SKODA Street Reserve, it's not surplus land. It's one of the few remaining green spaces in this area. It's used daily by families, retirees and dog walkers. Once it's built over, it's lost forever. This map shows how underserved the surrounding community already is when it comes to accessible green space. Rather than addressing that shortfall, this proposal will erase one of the last pockets of green in an area that needs more, not less. It flies in the face of best practice urban planning and undermines the values this community stands for. So in closing, we commend Council's commitment to affordable housing, but action without the right foundations doesn't help the problem of affordability, it risks making it worse, both for the tenants and for the wider community. This site simply doesn't possess the hard infrastructure or context to support this use. Approving this proposal will likely lead to increased crime and safety risks, destroying valued green space, entrenched disadvantage for vulnerable residents, and it will change Port Wollonga's character forever. There are smarter, more sustainable ways to deliver affordable housing, ways that don't sacrifice the very qualities Port Wollonga is loved for. On behalf of the Friends of Port Wollonga and the wider community, we urge you to vote against the proposed change of use of SKODA Street Reserve and instead support community housing in areas where residents have a fair chance at a safe, supported and connected life. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Eaton.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Just in that area south, and I'm not saying specifically within Port Wollonga or Aldinga, are there any other areas of land, not necessarily council-owned land, it could be state-owned land, or it could even be private land, that could be considered that's going to reduce those impacts? And I might refer to the article in the Advertiser this morning with 364 offences over 2 years being committed in one safe area.
Is any idea about
lands? Thank you.
Question.
Anywhere closer to an activity centre would be much beneficial. A singular bus route is obviously less than ideal. So in Aldinga or Port Wollonga, there's not that many great spots for this. So it should be located closer towards Sydney.
Thank you, Councillor June.
Thank you for your deputation, and I apologise for not catching up beforehand. I've been unwell. I just wanted to highlight some stats and just wanted some commentary around that from either of you. Aldinga has 44.1% of people experiencing rental stress, so they're having to pay over 30% of their income to rental, to their own roof over their head. And Aldinga was also in the top 5 suburbs for mortgage stress across the country only 5-6 years ago. So I just wonder what your commentary is in terms of people, the transients that's expected, and these people that are already vulnerable having to move outside of their local area and the networks that they have, and what you feel about that. Not feel, but think about that.
Okay. I'd say, first of all, that's terrible that they're experiencing those affordability issues. But if you were to simply just, you're not solving the problem by building new social housing in the same location, because they're not providing any benefit to that. So it's a terrible situation to be in, obviously, rental stress. And there should be other ways that we can assist them rather than providing them housing in an area that's obviously not providing for them.
Also, Councillor Dew, I think the Villawood development is going to have some low-cost housing. Is that correct?
Villawood will have affordable housing, but it's not no social housing.
And it's the minimum amount's about $650,000 or more.
And in terms of other land, there is land around the Aldinga Central shopping area, a big pocket of land around the library and that there. And I sort of wonder, why is that not a more appropriate place? Because at least you're going to be close to the shops and there's a bus stop right there. But all the other issues that LASZLO has highlighted in getting, if you don't have a car, I mean, the fact is, whether you're experiencing rental stress or not, if you don't have in that area, you're really up against it. The only place you can go basically is to the city. If you want to go to the hills, you've got to go to the city first.
Councillor Bill, Drew, did you? Okay. Councillor Yeomans.
Yeah, hi, thanks again for your presentations. Just a couple of questions if I can. Have you got any, based on your experience, have you got any comments in relation to the existing infrastructure that's there now and how that might support a fairly large group of residents moving into the place?
Sorry, do you mean infrastructure that...
Existing infrastructure for the existing population.
In Aldinga or Wollonga? Well, there's very little infrastructure available to support social housing.
And the other question I was going to ask too, there's been a fair bit of consultation that the council's undertaken. From your discussions with the residents and I guess your own experience, are you you're under the view that you've been adequately informed as to what's going on? Are you sort of satisfied with the consultation process that council's undertaken?
I received a letter in the mail a couple of weeks prior with an A4 sheet of paper front and back, saying that they're going to potentially pilot this affordable housing objective. So there was very minimal information provided to the community on what this would be, and I think a lot of people are not aware of the potential outcomes. So hence why I did the letterbox drop to say, well, this is what is actually happening in all the other parts of Adelaide right now. They haven't been constructed yet, but they're under construction. So we haven't yet seen the outcomes of them, but they're coming. So, and I don't want that obviously to happen here.
I'd have to say that we as Friends of Port Wollonga might expect, given that, our long history in advocating at all levels of government for that area, that we might have been apprised of this before it went for public consultation. We weren't. We were just treated like the rest of the community. A decision was made by council and then we were asked what we thought. So no, I think it's a much better proposition, as other speakers have said in their deputations, that you bring the community along with you. So you actually start the consultation before the decisions are made. So that's our feeling.
Councillor Dew. I also wanted to highlight your email that you sent, and I guess you the conditions that you raised as well in an email. And I just wondered how Friends of Port Wollonga and the broader community around mixed tenure, and if there was a combination of market rentals as well as affordable and social rather than just social, and how that lands.
I'm not sure that that's really hitting the prominent issue here. The prominent issue is scale, its density, which will likely happen on this site if it goes ahead. So whether it's mixed use, whether it's social housing, affordable, private dwellings, I think the results are still negative. They're not positive for the community. So I don't see it as a solution to just mix in different tenure types.
And then there's the question of the loss of the open space in an area that's not well served. It's the most built up part of Port Wollonga, and there's two tiny little reserves there. There's this one at SKODA Street and the St Nicholas Reserve. It's, that's one of the principles of good planning, is that there's open space for families and retirees and everybody to be able to walk to within 3 to 5 minutes. You take that away and that leaves a whole lot of people without green space.
Sorry, thank you. There's no further questions, so I thank you for your deputation. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
So up to item 7.5, and we have Brad Hocking, Kevin Liston and Jessica Spence from St Vincent de Paul, who are going to come forward as well and speak regarding the portion of SKODA Street Reserve. And I think you've all seen what happens up here now, so if you'd like to come to the lectern, and you have 8 minutes between you. And who's going to go first?
Jesse will speak first and then Brad will speak.
Okay.
Two speakers.
Thank you. Jesse, I will over to you.
So I am a local resident, and I'll just start with my story, I guess. So when I first moved out of home as a young adult, I first moved to Aldinga. As it wasn't the suburb that I'd been raised in and known for my whole life, it was initially quite an isolating experience. However, I was quickly welcomed by the local children's centre when I attended a playgroup with my firstborn child. This children's centre in Aldinga very quickly became my place of belonging, and I soon moved from just attending playgroup to volunteering my time there wherever I was able to. I was welcomed as a member of the parent committee, where I then spent 6 years contributing in every way that I was able to and made to feel like a useful and valued member of that community. For 2 years running, I was even titled with the position of a chairperson. After almost a decade of building this wonderful connection and growing my family, my circumstances suddenly changed and I was required to move away from Aldinga as a newly single mum due to the inability to find available and affordable housing. This didn't just mean moving house to me, it meant taking myself and my children away from everything we knew, from our community, our safe space, our place of belonging. It meant changing schools, doctors, dentists, childcares, even stuff like where we did our grocery shopping and the cafes at which we were regular patrons. Moving away from Aldinga and all of what we knew and were familiar with took an enormous toll on my mental health, which I'm still working to repair. The housing affordability issues don't just affect the stereotypical person that you might imagine. Anyone's circumstances can suddenly change at any time. It doesn't matter if you're young, old, single, partnered, even the children can be affected by this. Our council has the ability to collaborate and contribute to something that will make a huge difference in the lives of many people without affecting the ratepayers financially. I think that something like this would have had the ability to make an enormous positive difference in my life during that time of struggle, which assures me that if such an opportunity as this is provided to those that are in similar situations now and within the future, it will make a positive difference in the lives to many others.
Thank you, Jessie, and thank you so much for sharing your story. Good evening, everyone, mayor, councillors, community. My name is Brad Hocking. I'm here representing the St Vincent de Paul Society tonight as part of the Fleurieu Region Initiative. I'm also a board member of St Vincent de Paul Housing Australia and Shelter SA, the state body for advocacy on housing. The reason I undertake all those voluntary roles is pretty simple, and it's not because I'm passionate about housing. It's because I'm passionate about the community. And the number one issue our community faces right now is housing. Since 2020, almost about 1 million Australians have been driven into rental stress through rental hikes, through sub 1% vacancy rates and more. And many low and middle income earners, families, singles, older people, are forced out of their home, which leads to trauma and hardship. And I know that the City of Onkaparinga is very aware of this because you've produced this affordable housing strategy. And I really congratulate you on this document. It's quite a fantastic document. And I guess the reason I'm here tonight is because my assumption is that this document is not intended to be shelfware. This document is intended to be converted into action and actually drive real outcomes for the community. And the change of land use of just part of the SKODA Street Reserve will be able to achieve part of that strategy and that vision. Now, I understand that there are members of the community that have concerns about this, and in particular concerns about the fact that it's affordable and social housing as part of this. So let's talk about it. So I guess firstly, the affordable housing. It was mentioned that there are other affordable housing going that currently being developed across Onkaparinga. Affordable housing, let's be real, it's not for low-income earners. Your strategy identifies, teachers and childcare workers and nurses in that middle income range, and specifies a limit from which houses they can afford. It's well below the maximum for an affordable house. So let's keep affordable to the side for now. Let's have a quick look at social housing across Australia. So across social housing tenants currently in Australia, only about 10% are unemployed and looking for work. The rest are employed, they're full-time students, they're carers looking after a disabled family member, they're retirees. That's the 90%. It's only 10% that are unemployed and looking for work. And again, of the current tenants in social housing across Australia, 60% are families. These might be couples with kids, or single parents with kids, but 60% of them are families really looking for a place to call home. So these are the facts about the kind of people that are tenants in social housing across Australia. Now, in terms of a potential solution for the issues that are faced by this part of the community, the SKODA Street Reserve really can accommodate quality dwellings for people to call home. And again, emphasise it's a part of the SKODA Street Reserve that this proposal is seeking. Wraparound support services have always been part of this vision that has been a community-driven vision that we've tried to get off the ground for many years now. And this includes financial counselling, health support, and government referrals. I thank the people that came and just before me in terms of their deputation, and they mentioned isolation being a significant issue. I couldn't agree more. Isolation in the community is a serious problem, and we see it absolutely every day at the St Vincent's Paul Society. And that's why included in these wraparound services is that Vinnie's will be providing a supportive community around this development through the involvement of our volunteers and the local community in social activities, community meals, and more. So this proposal and this change of land use really does deliver on the affordable housing strategy that Council has put together, and is really importantly impacts the community outcomes within it. The very first deputation tonight spoke about wants and needs and a sort of a trade-off for community. Well, I guess I really look at this one in quite a different light, in terms of this is going to deliver on community outcomes while enabling council to retain ownership of the land and therefore control what happens on the land, and also create an income stream that can be put towards other services. So I think, in conclusion, approving this land use will transform what is currently underutilised community land into a catalyst for social inclusion, economic activation, and a more livable and sustainable city of Onkaparinga. I thank you for your time and happy to take any questions.
Thank you.
Yes. Question number one, what makes social housing successful?
Really good question. So I think the number one thing that makes social housing successful is a supportive community around it. And that's why absolutely front and centre as part of this change of land use will be the support that we are willing to give as an organisation to ensure that the tenants, any future tenants of this development will receive that supportive community around.
Okay. And you talk about quality dwellings. That was a term you used. What's a quality dwelling?
A quality dwelling, I guess in my mind, look, I'm not an expert on dwellings, I'll profess that, but a quality dwelling is one that is made fit for purpose for the current day in Australia for the types of tenants that will be housing. And the types of tenants you'll be housing, going back onto the dwellings, is this like high density? Is this multi-storey units? Like what sort of dwellings? What's a typical Vinnie's sort of? Yeah, it's a good question. And look, to be honest, there's a complete range in terms of the types of developments we undertake and also the types of houses we manage. It goes all the way from complete standalone to more high density. I think the advantage of this proposal, and particularly the fact that council will retain the land ownership, means that as we move into what will hopefully be the next phase of this, council has the ability to consult and to provide not just recommendations, but actually provide the direction on terms of what types of dwellings they want. My personal view is a range of dwellings that will meet multiple needs. Some for families, some for retirees who might be downsizing their home and therefore enable a larger family to move into their current home. Again, the affordable housing strategy clearly identifies that there is the houses in the city of Onkaparinga are too big for what they need to be currently. So enabling people to downsize and then have families move into those larger dwellings is the idea. And Vinnie's project, is that only for locals? So the types of people, are they going to be people obviously within that catchment? So yes, I mean, in terms of the support services that we would provide, the types of residents, that you would be supporting. Yeah. So are they people who are going to be within the Aldinga area? Are they going to be people from the city that are coming up? Sorry. Yeah. Where are you getting? Look, our assumption along this has been that it will be for Aldinga and the Port Wollonga residents. Okay. And I just wanted to check, because the previous deputation obviously had some imagery, which was actually quite startling for me, around the services and services within walking distance. So can you speak to that? And if Vinnie's are going to have an on-site location there, or where is the nearest Vinnie's site to this location? Sure. I might get Kevin, you mind talking to that? Kevin's our local Vinnie's representative.
Yes. Vinnie's already has a presence in Aldinga area. I work there most weeks of the month. We have people coming to us regularly for a whole range of needs, including basic food and paying for bills and get themselves off the ground because rents are so high. But homelessness is a big part of that. And almost every week we've got somebody who is either on the verge of homeless. In the past couple of months, we had 2 or 3 families who were actually homeless. We're providing the services for them. The village continues to do it. And even if the St. Vincent de Paul housing doesn't get the contract for, this, if it goes to an expression of interest or whatever, it could be Uniting Care or whatever, the motion puts it up that it will be a community caring organisation that does. And we will continue. Vincent de Paul will continue working here and working with people. And we would like to extend that in order to be able to support whoever gets the management of the site if it goes ahead. But I'd like to stress that, we're people who've got people coming into us every week looking for help. Yeah.
Councillor G.
Thank you for your deputation. A few questions. So we had an article provided to us from an elected member around that was in the newspaper today around safety concerns within social housing developments, and I just wondered what we might have learnt about these about housing developments that were built in the 80s or 70s. If you could just talk to that.
I guess I can talk to it. I haven't actually read the article, to be honest. I haven't seen that, but I can talk to some of the safety issues or the crime related issues because that is something that I have researched prior to this. In good news, I won't use any anecdotes. I'll just jump straight to the research. So the Australian Housing and Urban Research Institute has researched this exact thing of what is the relationship between social and community housing and crime. And they studied a number of sites all across Australia, not just South Australia, but all across Australia. And what they found was that when housing developments were well managed and had a strong social intervention focus, like what we've talked about, like what Kevin just talked about, crime rates went down by approximately 4%. They also showed that when public or community housing was removed from areas, and so we downsized the amount of community housing to bring in different types of tenancies, and I guess, let's be honest, more expensive tenancies, crime rates actually rose by approximately 10%. And I think because it's fundamentally that if residents have secure housing, if people have a place that they can call home, if those needs are met, crime rates reduce. And I think that's just quite logical and the research backs it. So thanks for that question.
Thank you. Jesse, as a local person to Aldinga before, can you give us a bit of a picture? We heard from the last deputation, but around services that are in, say, walking proximity, including our community centre.
Yes, I can. So as an unlicensed person that was living in Aldinga, I was quite happy there with the facilities and stuff. I can tell you that the proposed place is 1.5 kilometres away from the doctors. It's less than 500 metres to Aldinga Primary School, which is directly across the road, and there's only a 1-minute walk to public transport.
Sure. And are you aware of other services like the Children's Centre?
Yes, yep. So there's also the Children's Centre, which is a very good place that can help connect to other services that may be required. There's a CAS clinic, there's playgroups for all different sorts. There's playgroups for young parents, there's playgroups and other community groups for for parents of children with special needs. There's other connections for even just, little old ladies that want to go do craft groups and stuff. There's lots at the Children's Centre, and they're able to point you in the right direction and connect you with help that you may be requiring.
Thank you. And Brad, you might have already answered this question, so sorry if you have. What makes a good project like this? Where is it successful? Can you point to that and talk to that a little bit?
Yes. So there's a number of successful developments across the country, that's for sure. And I think the ones that we've seen that are the most successful and long terms are the ones where it's not just about the housing itself. And sort of the more physical things like we're going to build a house and it's this far from the shops, or whilst that is absolutely important. But the ones that we see as successful are the ones that embed the wraparound services and the community driven mindset in it. And that's why for us, this isn't just a case of let's grab a block of land and build some houses and hope for the best. This is absolutely a case of let's build a community around it, and let's get organisations like Vinnie's and others. We're absolutely keen and happy to partner with more to provide those services to make sure that the residents within the development are as successful as they can be.
Councillor Davis.
Thank you for your deputation. Just hearing your story was lovely. Brad, probably best for you. Knowing the size of the SKODA Street area, how many houses would you anticipate would go on the site, or how many people do you think we could support on the site?
Yeah, it's a good question, and again, I stress that the fact that in the next phase of this, the City of Onkaparinga, especially given the fact that they'll retain the land ownership, absolutely has the right to consult and to put forward the terms in terms of that. Realistically, 30 to 40 homes, could potentially go on the site, but it could be less depending on how they want to structure the various sites. Again, similar to my answer previously, I think that a mix of different dwellings, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, would make sense because there are a variety of different tenants. And as you look at the data across social housing, you're looking at retirees, you're looking at single parents, you're looking at larger families and single people. So I think having a range of dwellings would be optimal, but 30 to 40 would be achievable.
With the wraparound services, are you anticipating that a lot of them would be on site and they would need space for that as well, or are you anticipating most of them would be off site and come to visit?
Yes, we are anticipating an on-site. Now, when I say what we're anticipating, I'm talking about what the Vinnie's would like to have on this development, and I'm not jumping to conclusions about who does get it, but whoever gets it, we will certainly at St Vincent de Paul be advocating to make sure that the services are provided as a community as formed, and as Brad has said, it's that cohesion. We're not about building houses and just letting people on their own be there. We want to support that. We want to make sure that there's a proper admissions policy in terms of people who are likely to make a go of this, make a community there. Not just bringing anybody, whatever. At the same time, we want to keep a caring sense underlying everything that we do, so that it enables the people who come to us already, who are desperate for housing, good people with families, with their children, single parents, who just need a place where they can be secure. Not criminals, the people.
Councillor Wilkes. Trying to let you in.
Oh, sorry.
Can you just, thank you.
Ask a million questions.
There we go. Off you go. It's time tonight.
Thank you for your deputation. Thank you everyone for your deputations. My question is just around for you, Brad. You sort of mentioned that supportive community is one of the most important components when you answered Councillor Miliotis's question. And I was just wondering, do you have any commentaries or view on pushing forward when the community engagement is so strongly opposed to this development?
Look, it's a really good point. And I think in terms of, community engagement being negative towards the development, I think there's somewhat of an expectation that might happen. I think though, a lot of that is perhaps based in, let's say, sort of some unfounded assumptions around the types of tenants. And that's what I tried to address in what I was saying before around, the types of people that currently occupy social housing is perhaps not I guess, try not to be disrespectful, but the stereotype that people might have in their mind for the types of people that would be tenants within social housing. I mean, we're talking here about young families, we're talking about people with kids, we're talking about retirees. I think that supportive community is not just saying, okay, is every resident in the area supportive of this? It's really about making sure that the right support is given to the tenants, as they need it. And that's what we're proposing here. So I think for us, a supportive community is about making sure that we have a good number of our volunteers that are supportive, that can provide, the needs of the people, and not just needs in terms of sort of allied health and those more traditional things, but also things like friendship, ensuring that isolation doesn't become a reality. And that's what our volunteers are here to do. So that's when I say community support, that's what I mean about community support.
Okay, thank you. I
Could I add a little bit to that? Just to say that the engagement with the local community will be a priority. And, you know, whoever gets this, I think it's very important that the local community is aware of it, is informed, and that if there are complaints, then that those are responded to, not just through official channels, but also by informal channels, so that they feel that it's a whole community, not just one part of the community.
Okay, excellent. I have a subsequent question, and it's around the same sort of. Have you undertaken a housing development before without community support, and has there been outcomes, or has that community sentiment changed, or just have you undertaken one of these developments before with strong opposing community sentiment, and what has been the outcomes?
Yeah, sure. So in South Australia, not recently, a development like this. Nationally, yes, anything from acquisition of single dwellings right up to 400 plus type developments. Yes, again, community support is always difficult to get when you're talking about community and social housing. I'll be honest, it's hard to get immediate support from the community around such projects. But absolutely, we've been able to provide quality services, and then the community, starts to realise that it's not the stereotype that they thought it was going to be. I wish I could sort of point you to these exact projects, but I can do that as a follow up, and I can take that on notice if you like. But I guess what we are very experienced at here in South Australia, and we've been doing for a very, very long time, is that community support through local groups of volunteers, making sure that the right people need the right support. So that's what we are absolutely extremely experienced at here in South Australia, and we'll continue to do so.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Councillor Davis.
Sorry, one more question. Are you lobbying state government as well for opportunities when they open up their land parcels to put something on their land parcels as well?
Yes, absolutely. No, absolutely. We're talking to state government, and we're talking to state government for a little while around this. Obviously, these things take time, and hopefully we'll be we'll make some headway with state government as well.
I don't think there's any further questions, so thank you very much for your deputations, everyone.
Thank you.
We've come to section 8 on our agendas, which is page 41 for those of you following electronically. There are some people who may not need to stay, and if you don't need to stay, I'd encourage you to leave so that we can let some people swap over some seats. That's entirely up to you, however, but I'm just bringing that to your attention. And I just want to take the opportunity also to now recognise where we are in the agenda. So tonight's agenda is really full. It reflects the depth and breadth of local government, ranging from infrastructure and housing to open space, economic development, and the thoughtful stewardship of land, which is held in the community's name. And these are not small matters. They speak to who we are, what we value, and how we shape our shared future. So I want to begin by thanking the many community members who are here tonight, who are not here tonight, who have also taken their time to contribute through petitions, deputations, written submissions, your says, conversations in the neighbourhoods, corner street meetings, community centres, and many corridors. Your engagement reminds us that democracy is not just a system, but it's a practice. It's sustained by our participation, care and courage. And building our democracy muscle has actually been a very big feature of this chamber. It's a place where elected members listen to a range of voices and balance those with data, evidence, expert advice and research. I'd like to also thank our staff for the work that they bring these really complex matters to us with rigour, transparency and heart, whether it's around coastal protection or circular economy, road safety or community land. I want you all to know that as a chamber, We see the diligence and expertise behind every page on our agenda, and we thank you sincerely for providing advice and answering all our questions. It's up to us now as elected members of this chamber to make a series of decisions, and we all respect and abide by those decisions once we have made them. So as we move through the rest of tonight's decision making on our agenda, let's remember our community vision, our policies and our strategies, and also hold on to the space for the diversity of views and hopes that live in our city, and some of which we've heard this evening. So I want us to continue our work together tonight to serve with the respect, clarity and care that I know we are all very capable of. So we now move into this next section of work, which is item 9.1, page 41. Councillor Platten.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to move option 1.
Or sections 1, 2, 3?
Yes, please.
Go ahead. Yep. Sorry, do you wish to speak to the motion? Thank you.
Just briefly. I have a fair litmus paper when it comes to land revocations, and generally it boils down to community support. So the solution here, I think, is fairly basic. We've had 34 responses and 65% of those are in favour. This area is going through a great deal of transformation at the moment. I'm not one to say that this is going to become anything. And I guess my personal hope is that it's bought by a very large school nearby. But given the low amount of feedback that we've got, and through that feedback, the community support, I'm very happy to move.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Greaves.
Thank you, moved as written, and I really don't have much more to add except I guess just to thank particular members of the community who did participate in the consultation, and certainly this is I think the way to move forward with this particular allotment.
Thank you. Councillor Wilkes.
Excellent. Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to second my co-councillor, Councillor Platten, and just for the people in the what do we call that? Gallery. And just let them know that yes, they're probably focused quite on your report, but this report does highlight that 22 people were in support of revocating this land, with only 10 people not supporting it. So definitely always look at these land revocations to, as my co-councillor said, as what you see is what you get. So that's what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Platten, do you wish to close? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you very much. Item 9.2. So this is on page 65. Councillor Themialotis.
Do you want me to?
Yes. Councillor Eaton.
Declare a material conflict of interest, and I'll be leaving.
Thank you. Have you got the form? Yep, beautiful. Councillor Themialotis. I think we've got with Councillor Themialotis. Would you mind if, thank you, Councillor Stafford. Yeah. I think we're right with all the, for those of you who can't see, it's like the Starship Enterprise up here. Councillor Themialotis.
Okay, ready? We're good. Thank you. Okay, elected members, I rise tonight in strong support of option 2 to retain the community land classification for allotment 102 Canberra Drive, Aberfoyle Park. Throughout this process, I've listened carefully, attended public meetings, read emails, reports, petitions, and spoken with my local residents. We asked a simple but important question. What does this land mean to you, and how do you utilise this land? The responses were powerful and at times heartbreaking. One resident told me that the land was a lifeline to them, a place that gives them connection, meaning, and a sense of belonging. Another pleaded with ward councillors to save it. But what struck most was a deep sense of distrust many of my residents felt, and that the decision had been already made behind closed doors and their voices wouldn't matter. One resident said to me, the decision has been done. The land also holds historical significance in my community. Many residents who I met with and I spoke with were part of the Aberfoyle Park Improvement Committee group who formed in the 1970s. who came together decades ago to help shape the suburb we know today. They recall a time when the area was made up of dirt roads and how their collective advocacy helped bring along housing, utilities, services, and green open space that has become iconic to Thalassa ward. This reserve is not just land, it's a symbol of that legacy. Let me be clear, the community has overwhelmingly rejected the proposal to revoke this land. Of the 158 submissions, we received 112 oppose, and that's not a small margin, especially when you add on a petition of no less than 528 signatures. It's not a vague signal, that's clear. It's a resounding message from the people that we are elected to represent. Open space matters, because it's not just about the trees, the grass, it's about the community, it's about well-being and livability. It's where children play, neighbours meet, and wildlife find refuge. It's where people walk, reflect, connect, and find calm in an increasingly busy world. It improves our mental health, our physical health. It keeps our suburbs cooler during heat waves, and it forms part of the urban area that sustains life in our city. To lose this space cuts away from the very character that makes suburbs like Aberfoyle Park feel like home. Option 2 isn't about closing the door on flexibility. It's about saying that we won't pick bulldozing over community concerns. It's about saying we hear you, we back you, and we stand with you. So I urge my fellow elected councillors to honour the consultation process, recognise the significant history of this area, and stand with my residents in voting for option 2.
Thank you. Councillor Wilkes. Councillor Femi-Lotus, can you? Sorry. Councillor Wilkes.
Oh, second, please.
Go ahead. Do you wish to speak?
Very briefly. Thank you. I think Councillor Femi-Lotus said that very well. Thank you. And I can definitely see the connection to the land. Lisa and Tim, you did an amazing deputation. Thank you for coming in. I understand your drive and your position, and I appreciate the time and effort you've taken to come here and show us how important this land is for you. When I visited the site, I saw it was in a gully, it had natural landscape that added to the area. It was the birds, the trees, the sounds, it was beautiful. And I also welcomed your conversation, and it's just, so I'll definitely be supporting option 2. I think it's the right choice. It runs into a nature's corridor, and I think they're so important to keep. And, you know, we're losing them all the time with development. So it enhances the natural environment. But I'd also like just to take the time to say, I was told as a child, it's okay to ask questions, Gretel, because I ask a lot of questions. Just don't prompt the answers and don't get mad if you don't get the response you don't like. So I still think that the process that the council is undertaking is okay. You know, we have excess land. Costs us to maintain it. It costs our residents to maintain it. We have to, you know, charge you rates, and unfortunately sometimes we have increases, but we still have to maintain these parcels. So I think that the process that we're doing is looking at the parcels and saying, hey, what do we think, community? And then listening to those outcomes is okay, and I still support it. So just know though, I heard you loud and clear. We heard the engagement report loud and clear, and I will not be voting to revocate the land. I'll vote to keep this community land, and I urge the chamber to do the same. Thank you.
Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mayor. I rise in support of the recommendation as well. The reserve is an invaluable asset to our community, serving as a vital space for walking, relaxation, children's activities, and fostering a connection with nature. It also plays a crucial role in supporting a variety of vulnerable and protected wildlife species in Australia, as was demonstrated in the presentation. The area is characterised by mature trees that bloom at various times, once again, as we saw in the presentation, providing essential food and shelter for local wildlife. And it serves as a critical koala trail. We saw that vision of the koala wandering around the base of the tree and drinking and things like that. Preserving this reserve is essential not only for the well-being of our community, but also for the protection of wildlife and inheritance we leave for future generations. I strongly advocate for the recommendation and ask you, fellow elected members, to support the recommendation as well for the retention of lot 102 Canberra Drive in Aberfoyle Park. This land should remain protected, reflecting the community's commitment to preserving our natural environment, ensuring a safe haven for both residents and wildlife. By keeping this reserve intact, we honour our responsibility to echo the very strong sentiment of our community and safeguard our local ecosystems for years to come. Thank you.
Councillor Davis.
Thank you. With strong feedback across these engagements, it's definitely clear that we need to improve our thoughts on the public spaces, including reserves. After saying that, I do really like the land revocation idea. I like that if we sell off some of this land that isn't being used, we are going to have opportunities to make the pieces that we do need better. So although tonight I am happy to vote at option 2, I think we do have to keep going through the process. I do think we have to keep putting land up that we're not sure about, that we think might not be used, and have community engagement. It's very important for you to engage with us, then we know where we stand. But I think it's still important for us to keep going through the process and keep putting them up.
Councillor Thorley, do you wish to close? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 against. That motion is carried. Item, I would ask the gallery to withdraw that behaviour. If you do wish to celebrate, please go outside. Thank you very much. Item 9.3. Do I have a mover for this item? Councillor Yeomans.
Yes, I'm just, what page? Just
That's right, page 115.
Just want to make sure I get the right. Yeah, I'd like to move option 2.
Option 2, go ahead.
Yep, not to proceed, just want to get that right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick comment. I was invited to attend community gathering on this parcel of land, and when you're actually standing there, for those that haven't visited it, when you stand, you can certainly appreciate where the residents were coming from. It's certainly buried into a fairly natural part of the world. It's a beautiful place in that little pocket of Port Wollonga. You can certainly see the passion the residents were talking of. I can certainly understand why they would like to keep it. There's pretty obvious people don't want to lose reserves that they've been used to and grown up with. But that said, this certainly is well used, and the area there, you could just see by the photographs, by the presentation, just the walkway backwards and forwards around the area. And like I said, when I was visiting there, you can certainly see the natural habitats there. And if I was living there, I certainly want to keep it. So I certainly support council maintaining this block of land.
Councillor June.
I'm willing to second this as well. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I just want to highlight that when we often think about open space, particularly those that are owned by City of Companion community, they're often really well manicured spaces. And I think what Mindarie provides is a wild space, a space where it's not well manicured, and the rich benefit that brings to children and young people and residents as well. I want to acknowledge all the community members who mobilised and were so willing at a drop of a hat to meet with us. I know quite a few elected members went on site and met, and each time there were a number of you that came along. Absolutely heard the value and the benefit that brings to you. I would love to see more people beyond Mindarie utilising the space and thinking about how it can also be a place of enjoyment for people beyond just Mindarie and close proximity, but how we can have more people see the beauty of that space. And I just also wanted to highlight the quality of the deputation. It was a wonderful deputation, and you've all been so generous with your time, so thank you.
Councillor Eaton.
Yes, I certainly support the motion as is. I did have a visit to that site with my co-councillor, Marion Theodolatis, and you could see the passion that those residents had. And when you look at it within that environment, it's just a lovely spot, and it would be horrible to destroy it.
Thank you. Councillor Yeomans, do you wish to close debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? All those against? Motion's carried. Item 9.4, we are now up to place naming, which is page 183. And just if you don't need to be here for any of the upcoming items, I'd really encourage you to move on because there are a number of people who are waiting outside for other items. So I just would encourage you to vote with your feet if you need to do that. So item 9.4 is regarding a place naming of a park in Woodcroft. Councillor Davis.
I'd like to read that, but I'm a bit disappointed it wasn't a little bit more creative, but I'm happy with it.
You're willing to move that, however, under those circumstances. Thank you very much. Councillor Fisher. Sorry,
willing to second the motion.
Thank you.
Ma'am, and
do you wish to speak to the motion?
just briefly, it's a wonderful part of Impala. And I'll echo also what Councillor Davis said. We've got Janice Joplin Court and Bob Marley Drive, I think, and now it's going to be called Joplin Park, and I'm happy with that. But second dot point there, should a traditional local Aboriginal name come up, then I think we should look at that as well. Thank you.
Councillor Wilkes.
I'm sorry, I have to say something because I just love Jimi Hendrix so much. And when I read this report and I saw there was a Hendrix Street nearby, I was like, that's so cool. My mum loves Janis Joplin. That's awesome. And I was a little bit sad. I don't know if you saw it on page, my numbers are faded. I think it's 195. They had in second was Rock Legends Park. And I really wish it was that too. So happy to go with the majority there.
Thank you very much. Councillor Davis, do you wish to close debate? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? That is carried. So those of us who remember those things probably weren't there, I think, isn't that how the story goes? We're up to 9.5, which is page 205. This is a petition regarding speed limit reduction on Norman Road at Aldinga Beach. Do I have a mover for this motion? Councillor Eaton.
Yes, I'll move. Yes,
thank you. Seconder? Councillor Bell?
Yes, I'll second that.
Thank you. Thank you. Do you wish to speak? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. The next item is the item 9.6, which is our first ever in the history of our city, Economic Growth and Tourism Strategic Plan. And the motion before us is to endorse the draft plan to go out for community engagement. Councillor Eaton.
Yes, certainly I endorse it. It's a very thorough plan. It would be nice to also try to get some of the North involved in it because we don't have that sort of representation from the business community. I reflect back on last term of council and we did have that economic development forum that we had many meetings at, and I was trying to get a local business group involved, but they were from Blackwood, but unfortunately because the meetings were all held at McLaren and what have you, that was a big travel for those people, but certainly it's a very comprehensive document and I fully support it.
Thank you very much. Councillor Platten.
Thank you, Mayor. Happy to second.
Do you wish to speak?
Just to say that this consultation will be well received by the business community as a board, and I'm always open to consultation. I look forward to seeing what comes back.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Platten. Not you. That's right. Thank you. Do you wish to close, Councillor Eaton? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. And thank you very much because it's been a massive piece of work that the staff have been involved with, and it's very exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing it start to get into action. Councillor Eaton of 9.7. Councillor Eaton.
Yes, I'm certainly supportive of it.
And this is the engineering requirements?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, do you wish to speak?
And it covers everything that needs to be covered. I did have some questions in respect to sewage treatments and things like that, but they have been fully explained to me. So this meets the objective that we're endeavouring to achieve. So I'm fully supportive.
Thank you. Councillor Greaves.
I'm happy to second as written. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Debate? Councillor Yeomans.
Just a question, if I can, please.
Go ahead.
On page 276, there's some commentary there about allocating sufficient staff resource and additional training will we're required to ensure we understand the standards and not having discussions with developers, consultants on items that were once known to be council standard requirements. So my question there is, well, we need, if this proceeds, are we going to have to increase our FTE, or are we going to be able to provide that sort of support within our existing staffing levels?
You okay to take that?
Through the mayor, in the short term, no changes required. This is for master plan zones only rather than the whole of the city, but it will increase in FTE requirements over time, over time, and we'll have a further understanding of what levels. Effectively, the standards will reduce our input, so it's likely that there will be a change in which sort of team might be looking at the work rather than any change in the workload as a total.
That answer your question, Councillor? Councillor Eaton, just to close. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion's carried. Thank you. Item 9.8, which is page 313. This is regarding our submission to the circular economy, so state submission, and the recommendations looking for our endorsement. Councillor Bell.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. I'll move the motion as written.
Thank you very much. You wish to speak to it?
Just briefly to say thanks to the staff for putting together the submission for this. I think it's really important that we play a big part in this, seeing that we do have a very large waste facility and we're leading the way. So I read through and was very impressed with the submission. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fisher.
I'll second the motion as written.
Thank you.
Nothing to say.
Thank you. Any questions? I'll put the motion. Councillor Bill, just close. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. And just to let you all know that the LGA, I get to see some of that as well in relation to the whole of the sector's contribution. We're up to 9.9. Councillor Jew.
I'd like to move my motion that I sent through this afternoon.
Okay, can we just get that up on the screen, please?
It's in addition to that, it's an elected member workshop to inform the expression of interest criteria. Yeah,
yes.
Thank you.
So the what's in the papers, but plus F, which is highlighted in front of you. So I'll just let our elected members see that. Do you wish to speak?
I'd like to ask some questions first.
Go ahead.
I wondered if this, what we're doing tonight, if this proceeds, does this allow for a salt and pepper approach where mixed tenure, so people renting market rate, affordable and social housing can occur?
Through you, Mayor, certainly council can put some parameters around the expression of interest, to ensure we get what we're seeking. So if council has a particular approach that can be considered, and the zoning will obviously have an impact on what can be built on the site.
Thank you. How many times potentially until this is potentially implemented, if it does take shape, will it come back to council? Just a rough, what are
the steps?
Yeah, through you, Mayor. There's no other formal legislative requirements to come back to council. It's just if council requests a report to make a decision along the way. Otherwise, it's all operational and staff can manage from here onwards.
Thank you. And then just wondered why this parcel was identified over others.
Well, this parcel has been considered in amongst, desktop analysis of other parcels in the area. It was undeveloped and deemed surplus in terms of operational requirement. And there's other uses that other reserves in the area already put to other need. So this one has the size of 6,000 square metres, predominantly undeveloped, without infrastructure through the ground, pipes and all those sorts of things. It didn't seem to have any sensitivities that we had to be concerned about. From our perspective at the moment, it seems ripe for the proposed purpose.
Thank you. I'd like to debate, please.
Go ahead, look, 4 minutes.
Tonight we have a rare and powerful opportunity. Not often in our lives, especially in local government, do we get to make a decision that systemically improves the lives of people in our community, but tonight we can. We can take an active, tangible step towards bringing our newly endorsed housing affordability strategy to life. The strategy is more than a document, it's a commitment to act, and this proposal is one of the most aligned, community-driven ways we can honour that. The land in question on SKODA Street is already zoned as community. And I ask, what better use of community land is there than supporting the people who need it the most? Providing this land on a long-term lease to a trusted not-for-profit housing provider makes sense. It allows us to use the land we already have without significant cost to council and with enormous benefit to others. Now, some may say that this land is not in the right location, but let's challenge that. Affordable housing should not just be in distant, undesirable areas. People have a right to live near schools, shops, and community infrastructure. If we only build affordable housing in less desirable pockets of the city, we reinforce segregation and inequality. Everyone deserves access to opportunity. Others might be thinking, this is a state issue, it's not council's job. But housing is a local issue. We see the impact of it every day. In families sleeping in cars along our esplanade, in young people forced to stay in unsafe or overcrowded conditions, in caravan parks out the front of houses, so caravans in parks out the front of houses, in residents who can't age in place because they can't find smaller, affordable options nearby. We're not trying to replace the state government. We're proposing to partner with government and with community housing providers to be part of the solution. We already manage land, we zone it, we shape our communities. This is our work too. Too often we've seen only wealthy developers gain access to land. They deliver housing, yes, but often for maximum profit, not maximum impact. We know what that looks like: high density, low diversity, minimal affordability. If we truly care about housing outcomes, then it's better we lead this and do it right. We have control, and the need is growing fast. In Aldinga Beach alone, the cost of renting a unit has risen by 32.5%. The average unit costs $560 a week. That's not sustainable, that's not affordable, and that's locking people, good people, out of the rental market entirely. This is impacting people across the spectrum, but especially the missing middle. These are people who don't qualify for public housing, but can't afford the private rental market either. Nurses, early childhood educators, apprentices, young people. In fact, more and more young people are being forced to stay at home with their parents, not out of choice, but out of necessity. They simply can't afford to rent in the place they grew up. This is the cost of inaction. We have the power to reimagine how we use land, whether it's open space or revocation or long-term leasing. We can choose to innovate instead of defaulting to what's always been done. Because if we keep doing the same thing, we'll keep getting the same result: rising homelessness, declining affordability, and mounting financial pressures on councils and communities alike. This lease is not just a transaction. We're not giving land away, we're partnering, we're setting the terms, we're embedding social value, and we're creating housing that reflects the values of this community: fairness, inclusion, and compassion. This is community land, let's use it for community good. Let's take this rare opportunity and make a difference to our community. I urge you to support this proposal.
Thank you. Councillor Fisher.
Now I rise again to support the recommendation. Seconding.
Yeah.
And the amendment as written. Wish to speak as well. Thank you. The proposal for the sale of SKODA Street Reserve is an essential step towards addressing the pressing need for affordable housing in our communities. Given the current housing crisis in Australia, which threatens the well-being and stability of countless families, the sale represents a proactive and necessary measure that aligns with the recently passed affordable housing strategy by our council. Firstly, the decision to sell off SKODA Street Reserve is rooted on the urgency of providing affordable housing options for rising property prices and rental costs. Individuals and families are struggling to find secure housing. The sale could facilitate the development of low-cost rental options.
Councillor Fisher, I just want to, it's not for sale, it's for lease. I just want to make sure that people.
Yes, for
Sorry, I
okay.
apologise for interrupting.
The lease could facilitate the development of low-cost rental options, thereby directly addressing the needs of those most vulnerable. This aligns with the broader vision of creating a sustainable and inclusive community where everyone has access to safe and secure housing. Additionally, the proposal embodies the spirit of collaboration and innovation that is critical in tackling such a multifaceted issue. By utilising the resources and expertise of the public, private and non-government sectors, the lease can characterise partnerships and enhance the quality of life for residents. The potential to create a vibrant community space that includes affordable housing options not only benefits those in need, but also enriches the neighbourhood as a whole. Ultimately, the sale of SKODA Street Reserve should be the lease of SKODA Street Reserve should be viewed not merely as a transaction, but as a vital investment in the future of our community. It is an opportunity to demonstrate leadership and compassion and a commitment to the well-being of all residents. By supporting this proposal, the Council can set a precedent for responsible development that prioritises social equity and community resilience. It is essential that we embrace this opportunity to create a more inclusive and supportive environment for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I apologise for interrupting, but I wanted to be sure that you were clear. Councillor Eaton.
Yes, I certainly won't be supporting this. And the reasons for that is I think we need to also listen to our community and those residents that are close handy. I think there's other opportunities in the area, and if it's done correctly, we can reduce the problems that can be created. I refer you to today's article where the police in the last 2 years have had to attend one particular social resident type place at Gilberton, close to one of our affluent areas, 367 times. I refer back to a couple of months ago where there was an incident in one of our areas at Christie Downs where a woman was deceased on a veranda in an apartment block. The 2 cops were assaulted by people there, and there are other disturbances. It's important that we look at where these locations are with this. And I had an alternative motion. I wish I'd got on the button a bit earlier, but it was to go out and look at further areas within it, consult with a range of organisations, including the South Australian Government departments, health, all those sorts of areas, and get something that is much closer to that sort of infrastructure that we need, and perhaps not in an area where there's current housing, not far away, so that people buying into the area then realise what's there when they arrive, and they don't have it imposed upon them as we are doing now. I mean, one of the respondents that people are concerned about actually lives in the area, lives in social housing, and does not support it. So tonight, we rush ahead and we do a decision like this. I think it needs further work done on it, other locations identified. It might be state land, it might be our land, it might even be private land, it might even be the opportunity to work with some other community group, church or something like that, that has a parcel of land available to it. This particular location is away from the public transport. It's a long walk to even the centre care service that's there, the shops and those sorts of things. And those residents in that general area have got a right to be concerned if there's these people being attracted to those areas, potentially the ones that commit crime. It's about environmental design and reduce our potential for that to occur. I've had to attend crime scenes in those sorts of areas. I've actually had to sit through the post-mortems of people that have been killed as a consequence of that sort of behaviour in those locations. And I've had to investigate those matters. And then as a senior police officer, I've been in various strategies to try to deal with it. So what I'm saying is it's important that no, we go away now. If I can put my alternative motion up and we consider other locations and do a lot of consultation, and I think we'll get a safer and better outcome for the community.
Thank you, Councillor Wilkes.
Excellent, thank you. Look, I'd like to put it on the record that I find this decision a really difficult one. I know the community need housing. We unanimously passed the Entrepreneur Affordable Housing Strategy, and we strongly and proudly endorsed that at a previous meeting. We now presented with a chance to build on this by endorsing the Community Land Management Plan and approving the development of community, social and affordable rental housing. When this proposal first came to the Chamber, personally for me, it was quite a small surprise. And I know why. The deputation on the night of the meeting stated that the community groups have been working with the staff and the mayor and some EMs for a while, but I've not been aware of these conversations. While again, we had a strong deputation and debate that night, questions remained for me, and I was happy to have door knocking added to the engagement list. I felt staff have gone over and beyond in the engagement process to relay the outcomes of this proposal and what it means to the immediate area of the development of where it will be located. For this, I thank staff, because I believe our jobs of making decisions for the community are easier when you excel at yours. You have produced a robust community engagement report that, after reading it in great detail, I believe points a clear picture of the desired community outcomes. In the support section, I believe that there is support for housing access as a whole, not the development itself. I couldn't see strong links between the proposal and, yes, I want to see this particular development on that site. In the overwhelming I do not support section of the engagement report, I believe residents in the area are clear they do not want this development across the road in the vicinity of their property. I believe this section aligns more to the proposal itself rather than the need to address affordable housing within our region. So I clearly believe we, the council staff and the councillors, have the right to be asking questions and engaging in community consultation if we are approached by community groups with new proposals. I also believe that it's extremely important that we read and acknowledge the engagement responses and act accordingly. Reading those community consultation results and outcomes from the engagement is the reason I cannot support this motion. When the community speaks this clearly and opposes a suggestion, I believe it's my role as a councillor to read those comments and represent the people who have clearly expressed their views. The deputation tonight was also clear. This is not the right place. Those maps were quite clear, and it highlighted that site could be underutilised and also underserviced. So it's with a heavy heart I do not feel that this chamber should proceed with this decision. While we have understood and provided unanimous support for a housing affordability strategy, I believe the community has spoken and they have not shown desire for council to proceed with this and propose these developments and constructions of the community, social and affordable renting housing at the Port Wollonga site. The comments in the engagement report are constructive, detailed and clear. The deputation was clear. The support highlights the need for more accessible housing, and the do not support shows concerns for their open space, the access to services and the need for the appropriate government, state and federal, to address the issue, not the local council who are proposing this development on a self-described, well-used green space. So please let it be known I'm not against affordable and social housing. I'm just trying to be a voice for the overwhelming community outcome engagement report. Thank you.
Councillor Themilotis.
So I urge you do not vote.
Sorry. Questions? Just going here. Thank you very much. The expression of interest process, once that process has concluded, will that come back to council? So those who put in this expression of interest.
Do you want to take that's up to? I believe that's up to the chamber to make that decision. Is that correct? Through you, Mayor. Yes, that's correct.
Is that within the motion? That it comes back to us? Okay. And when that does come back to us, if the people who put in an expression don't fit within what council values or are trying to achieve, will council be able to stop the process at that point?
Yeah, through you, Mayor, if council approves tonight based on this resolution, council is involving itself in the expression of interest process, and then council will provide staff with enough guidance as to whether it wants to actually see that process come back a number of times or give staff the power to move forward.
My next question, why do we need to approve the 42 years tonight before going out to an expression of interest and seeing who's interested?
We, through you, Mayor, the legislative requirement for us to offer a lease over 5 years is that we first have to do public consultation and approve a lease of more than 5 years. Before we go to the industry to sound the market out, we would have to have a long-term lease of some sort of ability to offer to the market. Otherwise, there's no assurance for a third party to come in and provide a development on the land.
Through the Mayor, Councillor, if I can add to that as well. The economics of it, what we're proposing here is obviously to look at a long-term lease without any capital contribution from the council. For a partner to partner with us to deliver that sort of outcome would require them to have a longer tenure in order to make it worthwhile in terms of the investment. Hence, 42 years is the maximum under the Local Government Act and what's included.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I just wanted to confirm that if that was needed. And again, back to the first question, where is it clearly stated that this is coming back to the chamber after the expression of interest process? So we are going to be clearly seeing who puts in an expression of interest.
Through the Mayor, it doesn't include in the resolution at the moment. However, what the resolution does commit to is obviously a workshop. If the council was of the mind that it wanted that assurance to come back as a formal decision of the council, you would certainly add that to the resolution.
Does that answer your questions? Thank you. Councillor Yeomans.
Just got a couple of questions on the report first, if I can. Page 205, there's a comment there that in 2021, census data showed that 44.1% of renters in the Aldinga Port Wollonga area were in rental stress. Just wondering if we have any updated data considering that census was during a period of COVID.
Councillor, can you just say that page number again?
Might not be too late. That might have been
it didn't meet my what I was looking at.
Sorry. Sorry. This
450 something.
It was the third page of the report. 425. Sorry.
425.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, that's all right. I just want to make sure that everyone's and so it was the data based on this in this third paragraph. Someone answer that for us? Thank you.
Yeah, so through the chair, that census data that has been relayed in the report, and it hasn't been updated since the date of the report. We don't have any more recent census information.
Okay, thank you. And on the same page, it was SKODA Street Reserve publicly surplus to open space requirements, if that's still on the same page. Yeah. Says that paragraph there, the northern portion of the reserve was identified as potentially surplus to open space requirements in the originally endorsed open space strategic management plan. So my question was, when was that and what process was undertaken to determine this is surplus land?
This is the past one. Through you, I think the original open space SMP was dated something like 2018 to 2023. I believe that is under review at the moment, and this portion of the larger reserve was declared not required to service the needs of the community for this particular parcel of land. That northern portion was isolated as not required for recreation open space needs. The parcel was adequate without it.
Okay. And just reading on from the report, not sure what page, but there's a topic there that talks about those in support, and there's commentary there. Many also noted that the lease and subsequent expression of interest process would enable council to set clear standards to help ensure the safety and security for existing residents. My question there is, how is council going to be able to do that?
So this is the last paragraph on page 427.
through you, Mayor, a clever design with accepted principles. That's crime prevention through environmental design. A clever design is what we would be seeking. We haven't turned our minds fully to the expression of interest process because we haven't got council's authority to do so. So there will be certain criteria we will research and investigate and make sure that we're seeking a quality design.
Yeah, thank you. Just clarifying, I didn't miss anything in the report. And just one last question, if I can, before I go to the bank. Our own affordable housing strategy notes that we will explore our role as part contributor through contribution of surplus land and affordable housing in the right location with the right conditions. Where in the report does it provide evidence, not just commentary, that this land is surplus and that it is the right location with the right conditions and not just simply a parcel of land that might be available?
Sorry, I'm just seeing if our affordable strategy person can help with that question.
Through the chair, Councillor Young's already referred you back to our previous answer to the previous question in terms of the identification of the surplus nature of this land. But essentially, sorry, I'm getting advice as I was considering your answer, the answer to this question.
Yeah, no, we feel.
Yes. And that slipped my mind. Yeah,
that's okay. No, sorry.
So that's. Sorry, it was. I was just going to add the strategy that the housing strategy was being considered, of course, by council concurrently with this proposal, and so effectively, as you would recall from the original agenda item that council received 2 or 3 months ago now, this was considered a bit of a trial project and I guess an opportunity to explore housing options within the council. Now we obviously have the housing strategy that's landed, and the housing strategy, I guess, makes it clearer about how affordable social housing might be delivered.
Yeah, no, that's fine. The deputation drew some analogies between the housing strategy and what they're trying to achieve, and so did the report. So I was just trying to clarify things myself. So thanks. Yeah, can I put it into debate, please? I took on this role for a number of reasons. One of those reasons was to do what I can do to ensure that council genuinely consults with the community. This means the sharing of information and the exchange of views between the parties and the genuine opportunity for them to contribute effectively to any decision-making process. I am here to listen and to be a voice for the local community. A motion was carried to consult with the community on this matter. The majority of those who responded voiced strong opposition to this proposal, as we can see in the report, and also the petition that we received last meeting. Earlier this month, I also door-knocked a number of residents in the immediate area, and the only person who supported this project is currently renting and building a house 100 kilometres away. If that's anything to go by, it's fair to say that, generally speaking, those who supported this proposal will not experience any impact on their daily lives if this project proceeded. Common themes that I've read and heard in opposition to this proposal include the impact on the social environment, house valuations, traffic congestion, and having a strong connection to this land. Some of the residents I spoke to, their children actually built those BMX tracks from scratch, and now their grandchildren enjoy using these ramps. Yes, these residents bought land and built their homes due to the proximity of the reserve, and they've lived in this community for decades. One of the comments I also heard was, what's the point of providing feedback? Council will do what they want anyway. That was very disappointing to hear that they felt that way. But to support this proposal, you'd be totally ignoring what the large majority of local residents and the community have said. It's essentially saying, thanks for taking the time to provide feedback. We sympathise with you, however, we know better. What does that say for genuine consultation? Our role in housing is supported by in the affordable housing strategy, and our levers include rates, planning administration, local infrastructure, public realm, advocacy, and community development. In other words, council has little skin in this game. Housing is a responsibility of the state government. If some members of the community are concerned about the housing environment, they should be banging down the doors of the state politicians. In our tourist parks, council leases parcels of lands where community members can purchase a transportable house and live affordably, comfortably, safely and securely. From my experience, these residents would have nowhere else to live as they couldn't afford to rent or buy outside of these council-owned parks. This is where council is doing something to ease the pressure on the housing issue, and I certainly support this. This shouldn't be a discussion and decision about the greater good. Existing residents have a right to know what impact and consequences will be, and we should know what the impact and consequences will be prior to making a decision. What right do we have to make a policy decision that may have a detrimental impact on the day-to-day lives of our residents? We have no idea about the impact on factors including social environment, housing regulations, existing services and infrastructure, policing, traffic congestion, because there is nothing that talks to these points in the report, nor are there any examples where such a project can be compared to. I'm sorry, but it's not up to us at this level of government to give up a reserve and for our ratepayers to enter into the world of the unknown. Recent media reporting and criminal activity and antisocial behaviour in non-social housing has simply highlighted the complexity and problems that exist. Put simply, we are dipping our toe far deeper into something that is not our primary role. Considering all the variables and unknown consequences with proceeding with this project, imposing this on local residents is not fair. Ask yourself if you'd be happy for such a project, such as this, to be brought outside your front door, and in such circumstances, particularly where you can lose open space. I urge you to consider what genuine consultation means to you, and I urge you to consider what role as an elected member of local government, and hopefully you land where our having consider this proposal as it stands is not for us.
Thank you. Councillor Greaves.
Thank you. Now, just a couple of questions to start with. Go ahead. So to start, and I'm sorry if I don't recall, I think it might have happened last year when we were first approached by SPENCE about this parcel of land. Had we actually identified it to them as a possibility, or was it actually them approaching us about this parcel of land for this purpose?
Through you, Mayor, when Vinnie's approached us, we looked at several parcels to see if an idea like this would be suitable on one of our land parcels in the area that they identified. This particular parcel is something we've identified because it was already surplus on our open space strategic plan.
Yep.
So,
were parcels of land, particularly those closer to services, and I'm thinking building the central area, there is a fair amount of land there that we've kind of banked for future operational needs and what have you, but had we actually considered one of those pieces of land as an opportunity?
Through you, Mayor, we considered several parcels of land. There was drainage infrastructure in some of them. There were cultural heritage significance on some of them. There were all number of other things that made some of them a little too small, perhaps for development of this style. There were just many different variables. That's the answer.
Okay. I might debate if that's the case. Look, members, I too aren't in support of this proposal. It's not about the development. It's not about the purpose, which I think is very valuable and valid and needed in our community, but it is about the location. Couple of things were raised, particularly during the deputations, that struck a chord with me, and one of them in particular was about the location and the lack of access or accessibility to key services like, your shops. Yes, there's some schools around the area. Public transport is very limited. Everything is walkable, but really, is it walkable? Particularly for older residents, people who don't have other options for transport. That was one thing that struck me. But the other thing, which I've reflected on as I've been sitting here listening to some of the debate, is about the other two parcels of land we've just considered. They also were identified as surplus to council requirements, and yet we have gone down the path of, I guess, adhering to the
response that's come back from our community about their value of that parcel of land and how it reflects what their community is. And why aren't we also looking at this parcel of land with the exact same lens? I know it's not about divestment. I know it's not about selling it off. I know it is about taking something that is a council asset, leasing it for a greater good, let's call it. But the reality is it still means a loss of open space for those community members that actually live in the vicinity. I think when I look at Canberra Drive, when I look at Mindarie, there is an abundance in some of those areas of other open space opportunities. I think with this particular area, we just don't have it. There's one other reserve nearby, but others, there's very little. It is a very, very tightly packed residential development. So I think with that in mind, I can't think of a good reason why we should be asking our community to give up a piece of open space which is valued and utilised by the local residents, even if it is for a really good purpose. I do think the opportunity to partner with an organisation to actually provide affordable housing, community housing, it's a great thing. And, our strategy that we all signed up to only weeks ago clearly states that. But I think, as Paul has reflected in his debate, this is not just about council going out on a limb and actually doing things in isolation. It actually needs to be done in partnership with those levels of government that actually have responsibility for it. I appreciate that, state government through Renewal SA has got several parcels of land down south that are touted for future residential development. And I honestly think that our best approach is to start lobbying state government even harder than what we are now to ensure that they come on board and they actually don't just look at the dollars when it comes to selling off residential land, but they look at what parcels of land could actually be utilised to have better community impact and address some of the concerns that we as a community have around affordable housing.
Thank you. Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to start with a couple of questions to the staff, please.
Go ahead.
I understand we do have some social affordable housing in our city, in Willunga, Rainbow, possibly other areas. Can council staff please confirm this, and what arrangements do we have?
Yes, through you, Mayor. In the 90s, council was provided the land for several houses for low income earners and social, was it physical and intellectual disabilities. They were in the Woodcroft area, the Ranella area, the Willunga area. They're still all in place today. They're on very long-term leases.
So this is council land?
These are council-owned parcels of land, and we don't have any issues with those.
There's no complaints?
Not complaints that we're aware of, no.
Thank you for that. I'd like to debate, if I may, please. Councillors, I support this motion and recommendation with the amendment fully. I believe this is a very exciting opportunity for our city, an opportunity also for us as a chamber to make a difference to the community, those who are affected by a very serious housing and rental crisis. It's the first opportunity for us to show leadership and test our commitment for our agreed affordable housing strategy, which we agreed to and voted on only last month. If we approve this will be a further opportunity for us to consult, an opportunity for us to form more partnerships, explore opportunities, work with community and stakeholders, provide leadership and expand our legacy and decision-making in the chamber. We'll be taking action, not just shelving the strategy. We will not be the first council to lease land. We will not be the first that have developed a partnership to help solve the housing crisis. This motion
And this decision is aimed at alleviating the shortage of social affordable rentals in our region. This particular decision is a lease-only arrangement that will stay in community hands. Our council will continue to own the site, and we and the community will have a say in its future development. In the last 5 years, rentals have gone up by 50% in South Australia. This is not just an affordability crisis, but a broader systems failure. Housing crisis is real, it's growing and pushing new groups of people into situations of financial stress, not just affecting those that are unemployed and reliant on social security, those on low incomes, but those with jobs, those employed permanently too, that are struggling. Those left with limited funds for essential needs to pay after they've paid their rent. We are seeing a new wave of homelessness from people who have never accessed services before, middle income earners, my nursing and midwifery colleagues priced out of the rental market. Social support service providers are saying they worked in this area in homelessness for many years, 23 years or more, and never seen anything like this before. Many support services like VINS and other charities. Statistics have highlighted and shown that crime rates are reduced when people have a roof over their heads, as mentioned in the deputation. This location is close to schools, childcare centre, the doctors, and the public transport. This point that we're at tonight, is the culmination of a partnership and advocacy by community, political level and leadership. That's what it is that's led us here to this point, an opportunity to make a real difference to those suffering in our community. The great barrier to new social and affordable rental home is the lack of available land. In this case, council land, seen as surplus to our needs for the purpose of development that will help put a roof over the head of those doing it tough. Councillors, I urge you to support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Platten. Question or debate?
I'm going to ask very politely if I can move an amendment.
You can do that. I believe you can do that. Yes, indeed you can. Have you got something written down?
I do. Do you want me to just bring it up?
Would you mind?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Are you adding to the motion?
G.
Adding G. As that's coming, Councillor Platten, are you able to tell us what it is?
I can. Probably not word for word until I read it again, but something that I have watched in the room and something I feel myself is concern around what is going to be on the land. Is it going to be 30 houses or 40 houses or 6 houses? I don't know. And something that has been raised in the meeting tonight has been, is it going to come back to the chamber for approval? Is it something that we're going to be able to consider moving forward and have public consideration on? And so as an amendment, what I would like to see is that after the EOI process, which I have heard and can see that we're going to be involved in implementing, the report comes back to the chamber clearly outlining the proposal for the land, who the successful applicant has been, for us to consider so that we can vote on what is going to be on that land, if anything. I would certainly feel more comfortable. I just want members here to understand that you're voting on an amendment, you're not voting on the actual topic. So I have been known to lose amendments before. All you're voting on is G in this round. And then if you say no, that's fine, it's just going to go back to the other one, we're going to vote on that one. But if there's any ounce of you that thinks, no, I actually would feel far more comfortable with this if it was going to come back to the chamber with what the proposal is for the leased land of 42 years, then I urge you to consider it.
Do you have a seconder for that amendment? Councillor June, was that your? You can't do that. Councillor Fisher, can Councillor Fisher? No, so you can't either. Do we have a seconder, Councillor Stafford?
A second.
Thank you very much. And I'm just needing to take some advice. Can I just bring some advice to Councillor Platten that because the EI process has some commerciality attached to it, that it would need to come back as a confidential item. Would you be willing to add that word in? A confidential report would satisfy. You happy with that? Thank you. Councillor Stafford, are you happy with adding the word confidential? Thank you. I can put the amendment, or does anyone want to speak? Councillor Fisher, you want to speak? A question? No? No, there's not any left. So I'm going to put the amendment. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Against? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the amendment is carried. Thank you very much. And now I can put the motion, which Councillor Dew to close.
I actually have a question first, and
I'll go ahead.
Yep. We've heard tonight about giving up land. I just want to be clear what the square meterage or what the remaining percentage is
of the whole SKODA site, or just the what's up for lease?
Or a fraction of what's up for lease versus what remains.
Got it. So the picture that we saw on our papers is the red and the yellow, and you're looking at what the percentage of red is to yellow.
Roughly, yeah, thank you.
Have we got an estimation? Go ahead.
Through you, Mayor, it looks a bit like 1/3 that we would use for the lease, 2/3 remaining. That would be strictly accurate. That's just looking at the.
So that would remain as open space, 2/3 of that.
Of that parcel. That's correct.
So was that your end of your question?
That's the end of my questions. Thank you.
Actually, can have a question, but you can't have it. Yeah. Councillor Wilkes, you've debated, so is it a question?
Yeah. Process.
That's all right. I just need to check my own. Go ahead.
So I was just wondering, so now the amendment's been accepted, when if it is carried, will we go back out for community consult?
So then no, what's in front of us is what that you'll be voting on.
Will the community consultation be included in a confidential report that comes back to the chamber?
I think item G is regarding the expression of interest in the EI process. So it's with that piece. Any further work that would be done, and staff can correct me, that would be captured within the EI process. That is partly what we would determine as a chamber through that workshop.
And part of the EIR process, because this is all uncharted territory for us. So if we commence, and point E, we commence the expression of interest process, inviting the registered community housing providers to submit proposals, do we then take those proposals at any point back out to the community?
So that would be a decision that the chamber would or would not make it through their own processes.
Are we allowed?
Let me just check.
Are we allowed to take this?
Yeah, I'll just check.
Through me, councillor, the motion that's up there is that we would go out for an EOI, a bit like a tender process, and as a result of that, the ordinarily wouldn't. This resolution would bring back to the council for a decision. We wouldn't necessarily go and consult the outcome of the EOI process, but the council would have the ultimate say on whether the EOI proceeds or not under this resolution.
Okay. When that EOI process comes back to council and we have the report, will we have the community consultation that was in this report, in that report, just to refresh our memory?
Absolutely. That all of the documentation that is provided in the public domain and in the confidential domain to councillors remains in those spaces. So that's always accessible to you and also accessible to the public if it's a public document like they are tonight.
Okay. So now that we've got it coming back, if it's approved and it's a confidential report, comes to the chamber and we make the decision based on that. Is there a time frame or is there a time when that report will be released to the public?
That would be a decision of the chamber, as we do every month. We make decisions on the period of time for confidentiality every single month, including later on this evening.
Yeah, okay. All right. Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Councillor Chu.
Thank you. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the rigorous debate. And as Councillor Yeoman said, I too am here to represent the local community, who I also keep in mind as well are the people that are voiceless within our community, those that are disenfranchised and unlikely to participate in real estate, unlikely to approach a council staff member at a shopping centre to provide their voice. I think we also have a role in representing them. Not only those residents who have participated, but there's many residents that we know are struggling, as we've heard from tonight, from the deputations as well as the points that have been raised here. We also, as a sector, need to lean on our colleagues and those that are actually working in agencies that are aware and have deep relationships with people on the ground, that are every day working, the hundreds of people that St Vincent de Paul and other organisations in Aldinga. Now there's a myriad. There's down there's Centre Care, there's Uniting Communities, there's the local primary school that has wellbeing support officers, there's Aldinga Beach Children's Centre, there's our community centre. I could go on and on and on. I've been deeply involved in actually mobilising services to the area, and I know that we have to actually rely on them in order to hear the voices of these people within our community. And tonight we have heard directly from St Vinny's. I also want to remind people that the housing alliance that sits behind this initiative, which is community-led, is made up of parishes, so local churches, St Vincent de Paul, other not-for-profits, schools, even community development coordinator within the city of Onkaparinga. There are multiple people that have touch points in this. This isn't just St Vincent de Paul coming and trying to get a win from us. This is actually them being a voice for the people that they work with every day. We're not giving up land, we're leasing land, and let's be clear, as we've heard just before, that 2/3 of the land remains. I put this out to community about 6 months ago, asking, would you support council leasing some land over 42 years for a housing provider for social and affordable housing? I got actually a 70% of people actually supported the idea, 30% didn't. And then when we start to identify location, people then flip that and they no longer want that within their backyard. I appreciate the sides of this argument and this debate. I want to clarify that St Vincent de Paul, who provide Fred's Van down in Aldinga that provides a free meal on Friday nights, has the largest number of children and young people accessing any Fred's Van across our state. The surrounding area, we know that there's a 1.5 kilometre walk to the doctors, 500 metres to Aldinga Primary School, 1 minute walk to public transport. If we approve this, all we're approving is the next step. In fact, the EOI process, we're not satisfied, as Councillor Platten has ensured takes place. It will come back to this chamber. We all know someone impacted by housing affordability in one way or another. Let's keep them in mind while we think about this tonight. These areas are important areas for our community, and housing, as we know with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, is one of the most fundamental priorities that a human must have before they even get anywhere beyond the baseline. I want to thank Laz and Fanny, who provided a really fantastic submission to us that talk about, nevertheless, if the lease was pursued, some fundamental strict conditions that are essential, and I'm sure that we all agree: density controls, design and quality and character integration, tenant mix and management, crime and safety mitigation, public transparency and accountability, and a formal explanation and working deeply alongside our community across Aldinga and Port Wollonga and Selix. I encourage you to vote for this. I encourage you to take the next step, be bold as we have been across the last few years, and think about the whole group of people in our community that we represent.
Thank you, councillor. I just have noticed in G, and I'm going to seek support from the movers and the amendment, that the word successful, I think, is incorrect, and it probably should be read something like prospective, because we don't want it to be done and dusted, and that picks up councillor Wilkes' point as well. So I just need to get confirmation from councillor Platten and Jew for that, and then councillor Stafford and Fisher as seconders. Would you support that? Yes, yes, yes. All 4 yeses. I feel like, I'm on the, whatever that show is. 4 yeses. Okay, thank you. So I'll just give you a moment to read that, and I'll put the motion. All those in favour? And against? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the motion is lost.
Call for division.
Thank you. Councillor Bell is calling for division. So if you are in favour of the motion, please stand. We have councillor Stafford, Jew, Platten, Fisher and Bell. Are you going there? You're right. And thank you. Take your seats. And against, we have councillors Grieve, Yeomans, Eaton, Davis, Wilkes and Themialotis. Thank you. I'm noticing the time. We are 45 minutes past our break. We do still have quite a number of... I just finished what I was about to say. Was in relation to this? Thank you. I'm still going to put whether we want to take a break for 5 to 10 minutes and then we can come back. Do I have someone to support that motion? Councillor Fisher? Thank you. Councillor Davis? Yes?
Yes.
All right. All those in favour? We'll resume at 9:25. Thank you. Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move the motion as
Thank you very much. Do I have a second, Councillor Platten?
I would like to second it, please.
Thank you very much. Councillor Brooks? No, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 9.11, Councillor Themialotis.
Yes, I have a motion that I'd like to put up with some additional.
Yes, I believe we've got a copy of that in front of us. Can you just double check? Can you just make it a little bit bigger, please, Horace?
And I won't be able to get it on.
Sorry. Yes. Yeah. Yes, okay. Elected members, the motion that I'm moving is to ask you to support the 750 metre option. The additions that I've added into this are actually additions from the report that shows things we're actually going to be doing. So I felt that was very lacking in the previous motion, and we needed to be clear with our residents what they're actually getting from us making these changes. So we're not getting rid of place spaces, we're actually transforming our place spaces across our city. Our place spaces will become better, there'll be more variety, and take in our beautiful environment and nature that our community holds so dear. 750 is the middle ground. It says that we've listened, we've understood, and we've taken in the feedback that we've received from our community. 750 also takes into account those playgrounds that were considered by council as high priority that would have previously fallen out, that would then come back into the policy, and playgrounds that we've already invested in financially through time, design and quotes, which had set a commitment to our community that they would be delivered. So elected members, I ask you to support this motion in the 750 metre option. Thank you. Councillor Eaton.
Yes, I'll certainly support it. It does include my little footpath issue, and in that photograph that I put up in my questions on notice in respect to footpaths in the area, we've got a significant playground at Glen Huntley at Flagstaff Hill, and to the east of it for at least 300 or 400 metres, there's no footpaths, and people have got to walk on the road. And Glen Huntley takes a lot of through traffic. So this, I think, meets that need overall in respect to the 750 meet all. It takes into account us being also financially responsible and making sure that we are delivering the services that we can do at a cost that we can afford. I'd actually like to see included in rate notices the cost of maintaining the playgrounds included, so people got a bit of an idea of what they're contributing towards it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Davis.
Thank you. I think there's been an extraordinary amount of work going into this, so I appreciate that. I'm very excited about this opportunity. I work at a local school and we aren't building new playgrounds. We're constructing nature play spaces. We're doing sensory gardens and we're letting children's imagination guide their play. There's more value in making space accessible than putting a swing on them, I think. Open space is not just for children or playgrounds. Residents want walking spaces, quiet spaces, open green spaces with irrigation, spaces to kick a ball, spaces to walk their dogs and spaces to have a picnic. The newest playground on Bailey Road is a great example of what a new neighbourhood family park would look like, and the community members I met there were loving the area and happy to walk a little bit further or drive to access a park with such good services. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Wilkes.
I will have a small debate. I support the motion in front of us. I think the 750 is a great balance here. I always see the amazing playground upgrades that Underpin provide the community with fences, water fountains, pirate ships. There's often 3 types of swings in these new developments: soccer goals, basketball hoops, little tracks that ride around the outside for bikes. That was a great one. The list goes on. People have changed and so has their desire to have more than 2 swings and a metal slide that heats up to 1,000 degrees on a summer's day. So any upgrades and impacts on community are enormous, and people love seeing their spaces upgraded. Playgrounds allow freedom, fun and family time. It allows people to be outside in the great outdoors, away from screens and feeling free. So yes, from a community perspective, I get it. We've sort of started to hear this new, we don't take our playgrounds, upgrade them all, find the money and certainly don't raise rates. And ideally in a dream world, yes, this would be amazing, but to keep the status quo, in reality, aligning the 500-metre playground service level with the 20-year playground design life would result in a 10.74 increase in rates or an additional 66 million council debit over the next 10 years. I think this is like having your pie and eating it too, and often that's not a responsible choice. With this rate increase not aligning with our long-term financial plan principles, the staff worked hard on options for this updated open space management plan, and the community engagement was tracking well when the draft plan was released. I actually can't thank staff enough for their hard work, information galore and EM sessions that were provided to us along the way. I felt the message was clear and the situation is our playgrounds are getting old, really old, and several of them will need to be updated. Now with that, they informed the community that we are providing playground service levels well within the industry standard of equipment from people's houses. I felt this approach was a let's be real and find a solution that weighs up our options and provides adult solutions. I like that we had the community engagement data from before the state MPs ran a campaign against the draft plan. Before the MP campaign, we knew that 80% of people supported them more for less, and we knew that people were upset that some parks might leave, but they would be provided still with parks in their proximity with more features and more things to do. Unfortunately, the Save Our Local Playground campaign has changed the conversation and messaging as it went from information-based community engagement to flyers in letterboxes saying council could be removing your local playground with no context of why, if, when, or reasons. This emotionally driven approach changed the community engagement to now what we see as 46% and supporting the quality over quantity approach. Suddenly, there was less information out there and more people just saying no to a decision with no facts or reasoning attached. I feel the fact is that the flyers and the Facebook posts had no backstory. It wasn't a campaign based on facts. It drove emotion and tells only negative information. Unfortunately, the more for less conversation is gone, leaving the playgrounds until they've reached their useful life and replacing them with nature space is gone. Our ability to provide facts and justification behind our decision has been replaced with a simple, they haven't listened, you lost your playground, and all that work to juggle the real situation that we are facing has been replaced. I know my community want every playground early in the area. I know my community want more things to do, and I know my community hate it when something is taken away from them.
But I also know that community, I'm not immune from a quick win. And now I feel like whatever decision I make here tonight will be turned into a bad decision with no facts attached to it. So in order to be able to make a decision, like I was elected to do, I make a decision based on the data and the comments that were read in the report. I'll be voting knowing that probably my biggest fear will come true and misinformation will be spread, and I'll address those issues when residents contact me. So I'll just say, at the end of the day, I hope that we can find the message of having the cake and eating it too can always be possible when you look at the facts. In this case, you have a couple of pages. Thank you. I also want to just remind councillors that in your papers you do have an update in relation to this motion, which will include correspondence and a petition. So just making sure that you're fully aware of that as well. I know that you would have all seen it in your papers, but I just want to make sure we've got that on the public record as well. Councillor Yeomans.
The right page just on 532, just the financials. We'll talk about this service level and the potential for the it requires a 4.58 rate increase over 10 years and $20 million impact on the council's debt. The question, given the fact that long-term financial plan principles, we have agreed not to increase rates above CPI, are we going to be able to strategically look at encompassing this expenditure within our existing revenue stream, so we're not actually having a bit of a default, we're just going to increase debt for this?
Through the Mayor, I think the cost of the plan is what is described in the report. You could consider it a baseline for our overall financial position. In regards to rates, I would suggest that that would be determined through the annual budget process and could include other savings or efficiencies through that process. However, this figure or these figures in the report describe the total cost of the plan. We also consider that it is reflective of no external funding or grants or any other funding mechanisms that might support the plan. So it was the raw baseline cost for the strategy.
Councillor Eaton?
Yeah, it's no debate, it's just a question. In the draft plan itself at page 7 or 720 on the agenda, it says the plan will also form the basis for initiating partnerships with, and it lists, Department of Environment and everything like that. We're in Adelaide, but it doesn't include the Hills and Thursday Landscape Board, and I think it's important to include that in there. I will let you know that I am going to be putting a motion up that at the next council meeting in relation to consultation on land verification.
So the question for tonight is to include the landscape.
Thank you.
Through the Mayor, yes, we can include that in the final version of the plan.
Thank you very much. Councillor Fisher.
Support the motion. And I just want to acknowledge the efforts of the chamber and the team. This just didn't happen overnight. It's been a long process. Certainly, listened to the community. We've come to the point where we've got an agreement on percentages. But the bottom line is that there's still a lot of work to go ahead after these facilities that we've got. And I urge everyone to support the motion.
Thank you. No further questions. Councillor Thurley-Lotus, do you wish to close?
Thank you. Yes. Elected members, I'm just going to remind you that what this motion is doing and what this report is doing, it's about transforming our play spaces across our city. So we'll have our traditional sort of play spaces, and then we'll have nature play spaces. So it's going to create greater variety across our city, so members in our community can enjoy our play spaces across our city in different ways. Our community has said loud and clear that they love our green spaces and they like to enjoy our green spaces. So I think this gives that balance across our city and greater opportunity for our community. So no one's losing out here. There's a great win for our community. And just so our elected members and our residents are clear, nothing is happening overnight. This is a long-term policy. that's going to happen across our city, and any changes to play spaces across our city will end up coming back to this chamber and going out to community engagement so we can have further input from those direct residents. Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? All those against? Against? In favour or against? Okay, I'll say that's carried unanimously then. Thank you very much. Because I do like to do that when there are motions of significance. Councillor Fisher, Legal Services Summary.
Bring the motions written.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Platten.
In a second.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? All those against? The motion's carried. The next item is our confidential items quarterly review, which just to remind Councillor Wilkes, this is where those things would come back. So Councillor Eaton.
Yes, I'll move as is.
Thank you very much. A seconder? Councillor Greaves, thank you. Any questions? Debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion's passed. Thank you very much. Council and committee reporting schedule. Councillor Platten.
Happy to move as written.
Thank you very much. Councillor Eaton.
And I'll second it.
Thank you. Any questions? Debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. We now move into section items 10. And so in the electronic copy, that's 807. We have 2 questions on notice and they've been answered in the agenda. And that then moves us to item 11. We have 1 motion on notice, and that is from Councillor Platten. Councillor Platten.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Chamber, I'm going to keep this really short and succinct, hopefully in under a minute, which is brief. I was having a conversation with a valued member of our volunteer community in the city of Onkaparinga, and it was mentioned to me that they could play a part in being part of a tree city of the world. We have welcomed that initiative as a chamber and as a community, and we like to celebrate our volunteers. Currently, we celebrate them in a number of ways, primarily with a reception and a certificate. And basically what I'm proposing is we have an amazing nursery, City of Onkaparinga owned. We collect our own seeds. I would like us to grow plants to give to volunteers in recognition of their service, and I would like a report to come back to council in September showing how we can do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilkes. I'll second as written, please. And I'll just for 10 seconds say I definitely support this. I think Councillor Platten has shown great foresight, and this is a great motion to bring to the chamber. Thank you. Any further questions? Debate. Councillor Platten, do you wish to close? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. That has got to be one of the shortest motions on notice in history. We are now to the petitions. Councillor Dew, 12.1. Thank you. And do I have a seconder? Councillor Bell?
No, I think I've got
a second. Sorry, you need to press a button. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Councillor Fisher for item 12.2. Yeah, thank you very much. Councillor Eaton.
Second it.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Councillor Wilkes, question? Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I asked some questions on this previously before tonight. I don't know what we call them, informal questions. And I was wondering, do we have any ability to revisit this decision?
I understand that this was considered by the council assessment panel, which its responsibility is to ensure that there's compliance with the state legislation. But I do believe that we have our director of planning here, and she might want to add to that.
Through the mayor, yes, that's correct. The council assessment panel determined it last week on Thursday night. There is therefore no further review opportunity.
Okay. And then my last question is, why did we receive it in this meeting and not in the council assessment panel meeting? And do they have the ability to receive petitions? Yeah.
Through the mayor, this petition was lodged as a formal representation to the development application, so it was considered as a formal representation and considered through that process. It was also provided half an hour before the CAP meeting as a petition, which the CAP can only note. They can't make any use with a petition, which is under the Local Government Act. It's now come to the council under the Local Government Act for noting as a petition, receiving as a petition.
Okay. And then you might have is there an ability to either local or state government or in the planning code to control how many fast food outlets are approved in a certain area?
No.
Is that right?
Yeah, no.
No, okay. And is it, okay, no, I'm going to stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Platten, did you have a question?
Yeah, I do. We've got a number of similar petitions that are pertaining to planning, and it happens quite often. I'm just wondering if there's a way of communicating in the petitioning part of the website that if it's pertaining to planning, coming in front of council doesn't come to a resolution, because we don't have the ability to overturn CAP decisions.
So an explainer. I believe there is something to that effect already on the site, but
a sentence could be added to our website that clarifies that. Through the DA process, that's often explained though to
applicants. Yep. Okay. Thank you for raising that, councillors. Wilkes and Platten. I will now, Councillor Fisher, do you wish to close? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Thank you. The next is the proposition of the tower, which we heard a deputation on this earlier. So this is to receive that petition. Councillor Platten.
Yes, very happy to move, Mayor. And just to speak to this, the reason that this is a little bit different to the last two is that this will come to us for the lease of community land. And so I think it's important to note that this isn't just a planning decision. This is about community land and what the community want. And so this petition will be in that report.
Thank you. Councillor Drew, did you, can you just press your button again? Because somehow that didn't work. Hang on, let's try that. All right, go ahead.
I'm happy to second this. I noticed a whole lot of conversation and commentary online, and I'm interested to see the report come back to us.
Thank you. Councillor Wilkes.
Yes, I have a question. Do we have like it says there, a further report to council? Do we actually have the date when this is coming back to council?
It may be on the schedule at 9:14, but if someone can help us with that quickly, that would be a bonus. Maybe, I think, yeah, September, that meeting.
The September meeting.
Yes, you go to the reporting schedule at 9:14, you should see it there.
Perfect. Sorry, I was told it was August, but it is in September. Thank you.
That's fine. Any further questions? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. The next petition is the revocation of land from Canberra Drive, so it's receipt of that petition.
I think so.
Well, thank you so much.
I'll remind, I won't vote.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Themialotis.
It's a move. No debate.
And Councillor Fisher.
Second, no vote.
Thank you very much. All in favour? Against? Councillors, I'll just put the vote again. All those in favour? Against? Thank you very much. It was Councillor Fisher. Councillor Fisher. It's moved by Councillor Platten and seconded by Councillor Fisher.
Seconder.
Fisher.
Fisher.
Fisher. Yes. No, it did not. It was declared a conflict. Councillor Platten. No, sorry, Councillor Themialotis. I'm in the right, or looking in the right direction, but not using the right name. Apologies. Themialotis and Fisher. I think we're right now.
Thank you, everyone. We're now up to the petition for 1215, which was the MINDARIE Street. MINDARIE, Councillor June. Thank you.
Moved as written.
And Councillor Thimialotis.
Seconded.
Thank you. Any questions? I'll put the motion. All those in favour. I do also want to just to remind you once again that the petition that was received in relation to the open space management plan will be part of our business in the August meeting, but you have already all seen it and it was included in your materials for tonight. We need to have urgent business. Councillor Dew.
I have a notice of motion that I've sent through in relation to the algae bloom.
Can you just explain why it's urgent business first, please?
Yes, sure. There's growing angst within our community and particularly around anxiety for council to act. And I think that it's got to the point now where we can't wait any longer.
Yeah, I'm happy to accept that. Can't wait till our next meeting. Go ahead.
Sure. So right now we're facing a growing ecological and economic crisis along our coastline. Hundreds of dead marine creatures have washed up on our beaches. In fact, over 8,000 animals from around 390 species, including fish, seabirds, turtles, sharks, rays, sea dragons, dolphins and worms have died. You don't have to look too far to see endless photos as you scroll on social media. This and also walking along our beaches. This is not just distressing, it signals something is deeply wrong in our marine ecosystem. And while algae blooms are complex statewide issues, we cannot afford to sit back and say this isn't our responsibility. The city of Onkaparinga, as we know, has 31 kilometres of coastline. Our identity, tourism economy and local way of life are tied to the health of our marine environments, from O'Sullivan's Beach to Selleck's Beach. Our community is asking, they are worried, they are observing the changes and they are seeking action. That's why I'm calling for 3 immediate steps. A community information session so residents can hear directly from scientists and local experts like Carl Charter of Experienced Marine Sanctuaries and Anton from Shark Watch. We must be a conduit for timely, trusted information. A scoping of Council's potential role in addressing this issue, working alongside the South Australian Government, community scientists and agencies. This should include looking into whether seaweed carting can help us track the scope and impact of the bloom, especially since this particular species damages macroalgae, regeneration of oyster reefs, the feasibility of supporting community monitoring efforts by purchasing a microscope to be housed in public council facility. This would empower trained local volunteers and groups to do rapid, low-cost plankton checks without waiting weeks for agency updates. And finally, a report back to council at the next meeting with clear recommendations on what we can do, support and advocate for. I must mention that these ideas aren't mine. I am not a scientist. Many years ago, I participated in the Governor's Leadership Foundation, and Dr. Faith Coleman, a leading ecologist in estuaries, saline lakes and coastal lagoons, is also a graduate of the program. I reached out to her just before the deadline, and unfortunately she was so busy she didn't get back until after, and that's why therefore I put it as urgent business. So when I reached out to her, she generously shared the ideas that I put forward tonight. Inaction isn't an option. The longer we wait, the greater the risk that this algae bloom spreads along our entire coastline. Experts are warning that if we don't address this before the end of winter, it could entrench itself and return annually. This means reoccurring marine death, I don't need to tell you, but I will, damage to our seagrass, threats to tourism and risks to recreational water users. This is an opportunity for the City of Onkaparinga to lead, not take over, but lead. Our community is already stepping up. They're counting plankton samples, collecting data and seeking solutions. It's our role to amplify that effort, support where we can and help drive a coordinated response. We lead in coastal adaptation across the nation. Let's not wait for another 100 marine animals to wash ashore before we act. Let's take the step that our community is calling for, and I urge you to support the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Eden, did you have a question or you seconded the motion?
Seconded.
Thank you.
One of the issues also that we need to address is that an unfortunate consequence of the algae bloom is that our dogs, an animal that's very dear to my heart, are now being affected by it. And there's been some evidence that dogs are now dying as a consequence of eating some of the fish that have been on the beaches. And they're really could we also consider looking at some signage, particularly those Sullivan's Beach and those places, warning dog owners of the potential risks to their pets?
Thank you. Councillor Fisher.
Support discussion. No, I think it's a really good motion. I think it's timely. And I think another big thing that it picks up is actually highlighting the misinformation that's out there as well. There's a lot of hysteria connected with this. I know the state government has had an online session very recently where they discussed it. And I think as Councillor Wilkes, Councillor Jew identified, we're forefront. We've got coastal area, it impacts upon it, and we should take the first step to get this information back out to our community.
Thank you. Councillor Wilkes.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Jew, for bringing this to the chamber. This is an absolutely heartbreaking situation. I've attended a forum by Faith Coleman and have another one coming up with her also attending. It's absolutely tragic. So very, very happy to support it. And yeah, there's also a sit-in at Parliament House, not this Sunday, but next Sunday at 12 p.m. if anyone is interested in doing a bit of a silent protest.
Thank you. Councillor Drew, you wish to close the debate?
I just appreciate what Councillor Young has just passed me. It would be great if it was the first item in line is subject matter experts rather than just matter experts.
Subject matters?
Subject matter.
Yep. You happy with that, Councillor Eden? Thank you very much. Councillor Drew, do you wish to close?
No.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Councillor Eaton.
One further matter for consideration. It relates to the previous decision in respect to the SKODA Street Reserve.
And so I need to make a determination whether it's urgent business or to the next.
We certainly need to get the message to the community as soon as possible that we haven't disregarded the whole thing. And this is going to help prevent delaying it as we put it off to the next council meeting. It's another month and it just goes on and on.
So it's you're requesting for communication or?
No, it's another motion.
I think that I'm going to ask you to bring that as a motion of notice to the next meeting.
So I want it to be noted that we're now going to delay that advice to our community.
Yes,
thank you.
Feel free to do that. Thank you. Confidential items, we now need to move into confidence. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Fisher? Thank you. Councillor Femialotis?
Wait a second.
All those in favour? I'll ask everyone who doesn't need to be here to leave the room.